Chapter 24:10. Remember in 1 second, 800 male sign small / say net elegant brothers words directly explode like a hornet's nest. At this time, many cultivators have already gathered in front of the old man's shop. At this time, many cultivators have already gathered in front of the old man's shop. There are Liang Chen's army, passers-by, and also Lang Qingwan's supporters. Hearing elegant brother scolding the fairy in their hearts, these people immediately break out into curses. Yi Liang Chen, you murderer, refining devil elixirs, harming people's lives, you will die a horrible death. Yi Liang Chen, you don't deserve the king of medicine's inheritance, hand it over. Mayan slightly narrows her eyes. She slowly walks down the steps, goes in front of Gu Qinghong, and faintly says, "You said that the barrier-breaking pill that I refined was mixed with devil qi and killed people. The evidence, is this?" Gu Qinghong stares at her blankly, unable to react for a moment. It wasn't until Fan Jipeng kicked her that she suddenly came to her senses and cried, "My father vomited blood and died after eating the bottleneck-breaking pill from your father's #1 store. If it wasn't you who killed him, then who killed him?" Mayan stares at her without blinking, making Gu Qinghong look flustered. She subconsciously wants to avoid her line of sight. She chuckles and says, "You're saying that this person is your father? Are you sure?" Gu Qinghong's face stiffens. Of course. Are you sure that your father was poisoned to death by my barrier-breaking pill? Yes, this servant saw it with my own eyes. Mayan slowly crouches down, looks at Gu Qinghong with a smile that isn't a smile, and says unhurriedly, "Let's not talk about it first. All the elixirs and talismans sold in my shop are registered. If you've bought it, you must leave your name." Gu Qinghong panics. My father bought it from someone else." Mayan doesn't pay attention to her at all. She raises her hand, and suddenly, with lightning speed, she ruthlessly slaps the old man's chest. Under the guidance of her divine sense, a powerful soul power suddenly rushes into the old man's body. "What are you doing? Yi Liang Chen, is it not enough that you killed people, you also want to destroy their corpses?" Gu Qinghong immediately reacted. She threw herself at the old man and cried loudly, "Father, you died so miserably. Your daughter is unable to seek justice for you and has even humiliated you. Your daughter might as well end this once and for all and go with you." Mu Yan retracts her hands and places them behind her back. She looks down at her excellent performance. "Also, who told you that this person is dead?" he said slowly, word by word. As soon as these words came out, the entire place fell into a deathly silence. Gu Qinghong's entire body froze. This deathly silence continued for dozens of breaths. Suddenly, cough cough cough. Gu Qinghong coughed violently. The old man with bruises all over his face slowly opened his eyes. "Ah!" Gu Qinghong screamed in fright. She retreated and looked at the old man who was sitting up in horror. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Alive, alive, alive? That old man had died so miserably, how could he have survived? Even Liang Chen's army looks at Mayan in shock. But in their eyes, there's even more worship and admiration. Sure enough, their great god Yi is invincible. No matter what kind of slander or harm, she would resolve them one by one. Mayan sneers at Gu Qinghong. After the upgrade of Tianguang ruins, it can simulate all kinds of diseases of the body, and even simulate corpses. But the treatment of most diseases cannot be realized in Tianguang ruins. There are only a few exceptions. Chapter 24:11. For example, this guy whose soul and soul were broken and whose soul's sea was shattered because of the devilish energy you poured into his body by force has entered a state of suspended animation. After the old man opened his eyes, he stared blankly at first. When his gaze fell on Gu Qinghong, suddenly, he let out a shrill howl. "You ungrateful bastard! I took pity on you and adopted you, but I didn't expect that you would join forces with outsiders to harm me and forcibly inject devil qi into my body. I'm going to kill you." The old man pounced on Gu Qinghong like a madman, punching and kicking her, looking like he wanted to kill her. This turn of events left the surrounding cultivators dumbfounded. What did that old man mean? He didn't die because he ate the barrier-breaking pill, but because his body was filled with demonic chi? Those two aren't real father and daughter? Who was the one who said that the barrier-breaking pill contained demonic chi? You also said that the old man must have eaten the bottleneck-breaking pill and died? Fan Jipeng and the rest wanted to sneak away, but they were surrounded by Liang Chen's army. Old Ma sneered, "You want to run away after sowing discord? If you don't give us an explanation, none of you can leave today." Fan Jipeng shouted in a threatening manner, "That old man didn't become a devil after eating the bottleneck-breaking pill, but it doesn't mean that the bottleneck-breaking pill doesn't contain any devil energy." This result was announced by Immortal Fairy Qing Wan. Immortal Fairy Qing Wan can't be wrong. Yes. You, Yi Liangchen, can only concoct a 6th grade pill, so what? Can you compare to Qing Wan Immortal Fairy? You can't even make it to the 7th grade apricot forest list. The barrier-breaking pill definitely contains demonic chi. It's just that the demonic chi is sparse, so it hasn't been detected yet. Sister Hua was so angry that she fell backwards. She gave him a backhand slap. "Fuck you. You said that Jun Qingwan had verified that the barrier-breaking pill contained demonic chi, but you still need to bring out the evidence. The proof is that this barrier-breaking pill can only be concocted up to grade 6, and definitely not grade 7. A cold voice suddenly rang out, interrupting Sister Hua's words. A veiled woman in a white dress slowly walked over. Even if he couldn't see her face clearly, he could tell how graceful and beautiful she was. Leng Qingwan's gaze sweeps over Mayan, an indescribable feeling of disgust and hatred welling up in her heart. She let out a cold laugh as her gaze swept across the stunned cultivators and slowly said, "As everyone knows, a 6th-tier pill master and a 7th-tier pill master are worlds apart. Only alchemists of the 7th grade and above were allowed to be called grandmasters. Only then were they qualified to enter the 4 rankings and participate in the alchemy competition. Does anyone know why? That's because only rank 7 medicinal pills contain spiritual energy that, after being refined, contains a trace of immortal chi. The effects of such medicinal pills are not something ordinary medicinal pills below rank 6 can compare to. It is also this trace of immortal chi that will devour all the devil chi and baleful yin chi when the pill is formed." Leng Qingwan looks at Mayan, the corners of her mouth curling up into a mocking smile. "You want to prove that your barrier-breaking Dan isn't mixed with devil energy, to achieve the purpose of confusing and harming others. It's very simple. As long as you can refine a grade 7 bottleneck-breaking pill and prove that it has the same effect." Her eyelashes fluttered down and her smile became increasingly smug. "As the Medicine King's direct disciple, you shouldn't even be able to give a 7th grade pill." Tian Guang Su's special announcement. Tian Guang Su's special announcement. The top of the 7th grade apricot forest list has changed hands. The new top of the apricot forest list is Yi Liangchen. Appraising the medicinal pills, 1 7th grade, barrier-breaking Dan, 1 7th grade, detoxification Dan. Total points, 219,000. Chapter 24:12. Almost as soon as little Tian's mechanical voice falls, the entire Tianguang ruins trembles slightly. Then, countless fireworks rise from the reincarnation square, exploding in the sky, gorgeous and colorful. This beautiful scene makes all the cultivators in Tianguang ruins look up. Then, they see the fireworks fall, and a few glittering golden characters float in the air in front of everyone's eyes. Yi Liangchen, the top of the Xing Lin list. A similar scene just appeared a few days ago. Only, the one that appeared last time was Jun Qingwan, the top of the coiling dragon list. At that time, Leng Qingwan shocked the entire Tianguang ruins and was worshipped and admired by everyone. And now, in front of Laozi's #1 shop under the heavens, there are people jumping up and down. The sudden news once again shocked everyone, and the scene fell into a dead silence. Everyone's eyes sweep over Mu Yan, dumbfounded. In the end, all of them landed on her body in unison once again. However, this time, it's not worship, admiration, or obsession, but indescribable pity. This Qingwan immortal fairy, when she first appeared, she was high and mighty, shining brightly. Every word she said seemed to represent the truth, making people not dare to refute. However, she hasn't finished her sentence. Tianguang Ruins ruthlessly slaps her face. Leng Qingwan's aloof expression stiffens on her face, and her fingers twitch nervously. Fortunately, there is a veil covering her face, so that her embarrassed expression is not exposed in front of others. Pfft! Who said that just now? As long as a 7th grade elixir can be refined, it can prove that there is no demonic energy in the barrier-breaking pill? Now that our great god Yi not only refined the elixir, but also directly became the top of the Xing list with the barrier-breaking pill, this can prove that our barrier-breaking pill won't kill people, right? Qingwan immortal fairy, I say, don't pretend to be dead for this Laonyang. Sister Hua giggles. It seems that you were the one who solemnly swore that our great god Yi refined elixirs to harm people, and is not worthy to be the king of medicine's disciple? Are you mute now? Hee, not mute, it's just that my face is swollen. Leng Qingwan's cold gaze sweeps over Mu Yan, she grits her teeth, and suddenly her figure slowly fades and disappears. She actually retreated. Seeing this, Fan Jipang and the others also wanted to leave Tianguang Ruins. Who knew that right at this time, a bolt of heavenly lightning descended from the sky, directly smashing onto the few people, including Gu Qinghong. Immediately, shrill screams rang out, causing the scalps of the people in front of the shop to go numb. Fan Jipang, Gu Qinghong. The 6 of them have insulted Tianguang Ruin special class user, Yi Liangchen, for no reason. They will be punished with electrocution and banished from Tianguang Ruins for 3 months. If you do this again, you will be permanently barred from entering the Tianguang Ruins. Fan Jipang had just woken up from the pain of being electrocuted. When he heard this, his eyes immediately rolled back and he passed out. His body slowly exited the Tianguang Ruins. After these people disappeared, the entrance of Laozi's number 1 shop instantly became a sea of joy. Of course, most of them were people who wanted to buy the bottleneck-breaking pill. The points of the 4-pill competition rankings were personally analyzed and appraised by Tianguang Su in the appraiser hall. Points would be awarded for each pill after it was appraised. Points were determined by the effects, rarity, spiritual energy content, purity, and so on. The higher the overall evaluation of the elixir, the more points it would obtain. Points could be accumulated for different types of elixirs. Chapter 24:13. But this doesn't mean that as long as you take out a lot of elixirs to appraise, you can occupy a place on the 4 lists. Because the value of a truly precious elixir is by no means comparable to that of hundreds of ordinary elixirs. Sometimes, the appraisal points of an elixir can reach tens of thousands. Sometimes, it may only be a few points. For example, Gung Haifan, who was originally at the top of the Xing Lin list, only took out 2 elixirs to climb the Xing Lin list. They were the top healing elixir, Qinghua pill, and the good fortune pill, which can alleviate the qi deviation of a Yuanying cultivator. The points of these 2 elixirs alone reached 157,000 points. Yang Yuatong, who was originally in 2nd place and is now in 3rd place, appraised 4 elixirs, but her final result was not as good as Gung Haifan. Therefore, Yi Liangchen obtained 210,000 points with only 1 barrier-breaking pill, and climbed to the top of the 7th grade elixir list in one fell swoop. This is not strange at all. Because a 6th grade barrier-breaking pill can let a Jindan stage cultivator break through the bottleneck, which means that a 7th grade barrier-breaking pill is more effective. It is very likely that it can let a Yuanying stage cultivator advance. No one will object to such a heaven-defying elixir becoming the top of the Xing Lin list. When Mu Yan left Tianguang Ruins, the sky is already bright. 6th sister, you finally came out. Luo Yu said with a smile, Dean Zhou and the others have been waiting for you outside for a long time. Mu Yan nodded and walked to the reception room of Tianlang Palace. Luo Yu accompanied her and chattered, I said I would call you, but they wouldn't let me, saying not to wake you up. By the way, what did you do last night, sixth sister? You didn't answer when I knocked on your door. Mu Yen smiled and touched Luo Yu's head without saying anything. When they walked to the hall, Zhou Daoi, Vice Dean Chu, and several other people of the Xiaoyao sect were already in the reception room. Standing behind Dean Zhou, there is also a person that Mu Yen did not expect. Chu Tianyu. After not seeing him for 2 months, Chu Tianyu's figure has become thinner than before. His whole body is shrouded in extremely thin spiritual power, and his lips are sickly pale. It was obvious that in the battle with Zhao Xiong, he had been severely injured, and his cultivation had regressed to the stage of fasting. Moreover, his 5 viscera and 6 bowels had suffered irreversible damage. But strangely, his expression was extremely calm and serene. There was no longer the ruthlessness and pain hidden under the gentleness and elegance. Mu Yen can't help but look at him a few more times. Unexpectedly, she met Chu Tianyu's eyes that had just been raised. There were too many things hidden in those pitch-black eyes. There was gratitude, guilt, admiration, and also a burning passion and excitement that were hidden in the depths of their depths. Mu Yen retracted her gaze and saluted Zhou Daoi. Dean Zhou, we should pay you a visit. No, 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 that won't do. Zhou Daoi waved his hands. You have such a distinguished status, how can you address me respectfully? It's even more impossible for you to visit. Looking at him like this, Mu Yen is helpless. Only Zhou Daoi, Chu Zongsheng, and Kong Yuanjiu knew of Di Mingju's identity. Apart from Elder Kong, the others simply revered Di Mingju to the extreme. That was no longer treating him as a human, but as a god. Even he himself had received similar treatment. She touched her nose and looked at eldest senior brother helplessly. Chapter 24:14. Yun Ruhan smiled helplessly. College Chief Zhou, you came here personally to ask my junior sister to represent Longteng in the alchemy competition, right? Little junior sister has already agreed to this matter. Facing Yun Ruhan, Zhou Daoi was much more at ease. He sighed. I didn't expect the Starry School's students to help Longteng in this crisis. In his heart, he was thinking, what kind of luck did the Starry School have? How could they recruit such a student? If only the future mistress of the polar domain and these geniuses were all direct descendants of Longteng. Actually, I came here today because I have a request to make. Zhou Daoi pursed his lips awkwardly. Or rather, this is related to the alchemy competition. Mu Yen raised her eyebrows. What is it? College Chief Zhou coughed. Every year, the alchemy competition is divided into 2 stages. The first stage is held directly in Tianguang ruins. In this stage, only 3 victors will be chosen. They will participate in the finals of the second stage. This year's finals will be held in the Lan Empire's palace. But to participate in the alchemy competition, there is a prerequisite. You must be on the 4 lists of the alchemy competition in Tianguang ruins. 7th tier Apricot Forest list, 8th tier Glaze list, 9th tier Spiritual Pivot list, and 10th tier Coiled Dragon list. 2 months before the alchemy competition, these 4 lists will appear in the rebirth square of Tianguang ruins. Only the top 50 of each list will be able to enter. And to participate in the first stage of the alchemy competition, there is a prerequisite. You must be on any of the 4 lists of the alchemy competition, in other words, the top 50. Of course, the Coiled Dragon list would always be less than 50. As soon as Zhou Daoi finished, the people of the Xiaoyao sect could not help but frown. But 6th senior sister hasn't refined a 7th tier pill yet. Leng Yuma said, Tisk, can those 7th tier pills compare to little junior sister's 6th tier pills? She can just use the 6th tier bottleneck breaking pill to participate in the competition and crush everyone. Hearing their words, Zhou Daoi sighed softly. He also felt that the bottleneck breaking pill could crush most 7th tier pills. Even the Golden Crow pill refined by Chu Tianyu. But the problem was, in the pill competitions for rankings, only 7th grade and above medicinal pills could be on it. Moreover, that Jun Qingwan had refined a 10th grade medicinal pill? Even if the bottleneck-breaking pill could defeat a 7th or 8th grade pill, could it defeat a 10th grade pill? Zhou Daoyi wiped his face and said with a wry smile, "Miss June, if you can't refine a 7th grade elixir in a short time, why don't we do this? Elder Liang of our Longting Elixir School has just refined a 7th grade elixir that hasn't been appraised yet. Why don't you take it?" Mu Yan unhurriedly took the tea that Qinjiu handed over, took a sip, and interrupted Zhou Daoyi with a chuckle, "No need, I'm already on the Xinglin list." Zhou Daoyi was dumbfounded. Vice President Chu was also at a loss. Already on the apricot forest list. What does that mean? Chu Tianyu, who was standing behind Zhou Daoyi, reacted first. He held the jade key, closed his eyes, leaned against the pillar, and pretended to doze off. Not long after, he suddenly opened his eyes. His burning gaze was filled with indescribable excitement, and he slowly spat out a few words, "The top of the apricot forest list, Yi Liangchen." Fuck. Luo Yu's consciousness had just jumped out of the jade key. Chapter 24:15. Sixth sister, you weren't in your room last night. You actually went to slaughter the list behind our backs. Little sister, when did you learn to refine 7th grade elixirs? Mayan chuckles and tosses them. Several bottles of elixirs are thrown to the brothers. The 7th grade elixir I tried to refine last night is not perfect. The purity is only 90%, can't sell it. Wait until I learn how to refine 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade elixirs, then I'll slowly perfect it. You guys can eat it like candy first. The 6 people of the Xiaoyao sect take the elixirs with smiles and casually throw them into the storage space. Qinjiu directly pours out a pill and puts it in his mouth, chewing on it. After eating, he smiles foolishly at Mayan, "Little sister, it's delicious, sweet, fragrant." Mayan waves her hand and says, "Eat as you like, it's okay if you eat it like candy, second brother. If it accumulates poison, I'll remove it for you. Not with water element elixir. But with Shin musician skills, guaranteed to have no side effects." Zhou Daoyi, Chu Zongsheng, and Chu Tianyu, who are watching this scene, are dumbfounded. They don't know what to be shocked about, what to complain about. Eating 7th grade elixirs casually like candy? Purity of 90% is not perfect enough? Wait a minute, is there a deviation in our understanding of purity? Also, what does wait until I learn how to refine 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade elixirs mean? Why is refining 10th grade elixirs as easy as chopping melons and vegetables? The room falls into a strange cold and hot world. On one side, the people of the Xiaoyao sect are laughing and chatting. On the other side, the 3 people of Longting have stiff expressions, like wooden sculptures. Finally, Zhou Daoyi wakes up, he finally knows what he should be shocked about. "Miss June, you've reached the top of the apricot forest list?" Mayan smiles and nods. Zhou Daoyi's lips trembled for a long time. The expression on his face once again turned into excitement and admiration. "Miss June, you're really too amazing. You're truly worthy of being the emperor's." That Jun Qingwan also spent 10 days and used 10 kinds of medicinal pills to become the number 1 of the coiling dragon list. But Miss June, you only used 1 night and 1 kind of medicinal pill to achieve it. Although Mayan later said that she would learn to refine a 10th grade elixir in a short period of time, he didn't believe it. However, even an 8th grade or 7th grade bottleneck-breaking pill was incomparable to an ordinary 9th grade elixir. Zhou Daoyi finally saw a glimmer of hope in this uncertain bet. "Miss June, now that you've topped the apricot forest list, I'll arrange for you to register for the alchemy competition." Mayan nods, "Sorry to trouble you." After Zhou Daoyi and Vice Principal Chu left, Chu Tian went to devour but Bless stayed behind. Before the 2 of them left, they looked at Chu Tianyu, and Chu Tianyu looked back at them. Zhou Daoyi smiled at Chu Tianyu and nodded. Chu Tianyu's expression became extremely resolute. After the two of them left, he slowly walked in front of Mayan. Suddenly, without any warning, he knelt down on one knee and bowed his once proud head. Jun Mayan, Chu Tianyu, swear to the heavens today that I'm willing to serve you as my master and serve you for the rest of my life. I'll never betray you, and I'll never break my promise. If I'm disloyal, may the heavens and the earth destroy me. A faint ray of light fell on Chu Tianyu's body and slowly disappeared. Mayan slightly narrowed her eyes. Chu Tianyu, what do you mean by this? Chapter 24:16. Chu Tianyu's Pledge of Allegiance. 1. The people of the Xiaoyao school also frown, looking at the skinny young man who is kneeling on the ground with his back straight. They can see that Chu Tianyu's oath was made to the way of heaven. In other words, the power of the oath has been formed. Once he violates it, he will be punished by the way of heaven. Chu Tianyu slowly raises his head, looking at Mu Yen with his pitch-black eyes. He says in a hoarse voice, I know my cultivation is half-crippled, and I'm no different from a cripple. But I can't think of a second way to repay the favor and make it up to you other than pledging allegiance to you. To repay the Xiaoyao school for saving my life, and to repay the debt I owed you. He takes a deep breath. His ashen face is clearly full of illness, but there is no trace of dispiritedness or fear, only steel-like tenacity and determination. Please believe me, I, Chu Tianyu, will not be defeated, and will not be a good-for-nothing forever. One day, I will be strong enough to stand behind you, and become your right-hand man. Mu Yen frowns slightly. She is not very willing to accept Chu Tianyu's pledge of allegiance. First, this person is the son of the north-conquering Marquis, Chu Xinyan, which means trouble. Second, Mu Yen is too lazy to care about the matter of him pretending to be Yi Liangshan, but it does not mean that she can trust him. The people around Mu Yen, whether it is the Nether Flame Army, Jing Xiaopeng, North Sunflower, Xiang Wan, and the others, are her subordinates in name, but in Mu Yan's heart, they are her relatives that she can trust. And Chu Tianyu is obviously not qualified. Mu Yen is about to refuse. She hears Chu Moli put down the teacup in his hand and says slowly, if you want to repay the favor to little junior sister, then first prove that you have the ability to do so. Mu Yen is startled and looks at Chu Moli. She sees that the young man sitting in the wheelchair has a gentle expression and a calm smile. However, the 6 Xiaoyao masters, who are familiar with Chu Moli, all shiver. The abnormal third senior brother is scheming again. Chu Tianyu is stunned at first, then he slightly lowers his eyes and shows a bitter smile. I'm just a cripple now, how can I prove? By the end of his sentence, his voice had already become a little hoarse with difficulty. When he made the vow just now, the remaining arrogance in his body slowly disappeared, leaving only bitterness and coldness. I'm sorry, I was just talking to myself. A person like me, what qualifications do I have to stand behind Miss June? Dirty, ugly, despicable. Now, he didn't even have the slightest bit of strength and talent left. With that, Chu Tianyu turned around to leave. The entire palace hall was completely silent. Only Chu Moli's unhurried voice could be heard. His voice was warm and soothing, without the slightest hint of regret or mockery. It was as if they were just chatting over breakfast. Who said that the only way to prove yourself is through force? Chu Tianyu stopped in his tracks and turned around. However, his gaze wasn't directed towards Chu Moli. Instead, it was fixed on Mu Yen. His eyes were red like a drowning man trying to grab at a life-saving straw. How do I prove it? Mu Yan's heart trembled slightly, and she turned her gaze towards Chu Moli. She had somewhat guessed what her third senior brother meant. The others couldn't help but be filled with curiosity. They urged, third senior brother, don't keep us in suspense. Quickly tell us, how do you want to prove it? Chu Moli picked up his teacup again, took a sip, and said with a smile, in this pill competition, you should be very clear about who's backing that Jun Qingwan. Chapter 24:17. Chu Tianyu pledges his life to surrender. 2. Chu Tianyu clenches his fists tightly. His breathing becomes rapid, and his eyes emit intense hatred. He knows, of course he knows. Isn't it his good father, Chu Xinyan? But after a moment, Chu Tianyu regains his calmness and slowly nods. Chu Moli, this time's pill competition is related to the bet between North Placating Marquis and Long Teng. If he knows that Medicine King's successor Yi Liangchen is participating, North Placating Marquis will definitely not let it go. They don't know little junior sister's true identity, so they can only think of dirty tricks in Tianguang ruins. Who do you think they will target and what methods will they use? Chu Tianyu's gaze sharpens, and he spits out 4 words without hesitation: Liangchen's army. Yes. In a situation where they don't know Yi Liangchen's true identity, the best way to defeat Yi Liangchen is to attack his army. Chu Tianyu's thoughts turn like lightning. He doesn't dare to openly suppress him, but using threats and promises, sending spies to infiltrate, provoking internal discord, and investigating Yi Liangchen's identity, Chu Xinyan will definitely do such a thing. Chu Moli's lips curl up slightly. Now, do you still think there's no way to prove yourself? Chu Tianyu looks at Chu Moli seriously. This weak youth sitting in a wheelchair is the most inconspicuous existence in the Xiaoyao sect. On the battlefield, many people would even overlook the existence of this silver bow godly arrow. However, it was only at this moment that Chu Tianyu realized how terrifying this sickly young man was. He didn't give Chu Tianyu a chance to prove his ability, but to use him thoroughly, and even make him feel grateful and loyal. The scale of Liangchen's army is getting bigger and bigger, but the people who join it are all good and bad, and their intentions are hard to predict. If they are not restrained and managed, not only will they not be able to help Mu Yan in the future, they will also bring disaster to her. And in this time's pill competition, North Placating Marquis will definitely make a move, and place his trusted aides in Liangchen's army. Even if Mu Yan wins the pill competition in the end, these spies will be like nails nailed into Liangchen's army, and they will deal a fatal blow to Mu Yan at any time. And the one who can most effectively guard against Chu Xinyan's methods is Chu Tianyu. Because in this world, no one understood Chu Xinyan better than his son, Chu Tianyu. In just a short moment, he figured out the crux of the matter and threw a bait that he couldn't refuse in front of him. How deep was this man's scheming mind? How terrifying was his scheming and shrewdness? However, Chu Tianyu is only shocked for a moment, and once again, he slowly kneels down towards Mayan. This subordinate is willing to prove his own value. Master, please give me this opportunity. So what if it was used, bait, or a clear dragon's pool and tiger's den? His life, as well as his mother's life, was originally given by Jun Mayan. If he could stay by this person's side for the rest of his life, even if he had to work like an ox or a horse, or be a slave for life, he would be willing. In the reception hall, only Mu Yan and Chu Tianyu are left. Chu Tianyu slightly hangs his head, nervously waiting for Mayan's decision. You should know that I don't need your loyalty and gratitude. His breathing suddenly stopped, and his hands, which were hanging by his side, were clenched tightly. But since third brother said that you can make Liangchen's army develop even better, Mayan pauses, and meets Chu Tianyu's slightly reddened eyes. She slowly says, since third brother believes in you, then I also choose to believe in you. Chu Tianyu's dark and despairing eyes suddenly burst with a bright light. Thank you, Master. Chapter 24:18. Chu Tianyu pledges his life to surrender. 3. Don't call me Master. Mayan has a headache. Also, don't kneel before me. Since you want to join Liang Chen's army, then just call me boss or miss like them. Chu Tianyu bows. Miss, this subordinate will immediately enter Tianguang ruins, and first clearly investigate the current situation of Liang Chen's army. Come on. Mayan sneers, with your current good-for-nothing body, your soul will be injured in less than an hour after entering Tianguang ruins, and you'll be forcibly expelled. Chu Tianyu's dejected expression doesn't even have time to appear on his face. He sees the girl's bare hand turn over, and the Tian Mo Qin appears in front of her. Her slender, lustrous fingers are like a work of art carved from fine jade. Gently stroking the strings, it plays the most beautiful music in the world. Chu Tianyu is a little dazed for a while. Until Mayan's voice comes, although I can't completely heal your injuries right now, I can still recondense your shattered golden core. However, you have to be prepared for the next 6 hours. Forging the body, reshaping the core, and recondensing it. This kind of pain isn't something that an ordinary person can endure. 6 hours later. Mayan has a complicated expression as she looks at the man sitting cross-legged on the ground, her eyes revealing a rare bit of admiration. She had already guessed that Chu Tianyu could endure the pain of breaking and recondensing his core. But she didn't expect that during this process, let alone screaming, Chu Tianyu didn't even make a sound. What kind of perseverance is needed to achieve this? Isn't this man in pain? Of course he's in pain. You only need to look at his sweat-soaked clothes, and the bloodstains overflowing from the corners of his mouth to clearly know this. That blood was bitten out by his teeth. Chu Tianyu slowly opens his eyes, struggling to stand up. Many thanks to Miss for the grace of rebirth. I'll go now. All right. Mayan throws him a bottle of elixirs. Recuperate well these next few days, and consolidate your cultivation. There's still some time before the pill competition, so there's no need to go to Tianguang ruins for the time being. Chu Tianyu trembles as he receives the elixirs. He answers with a hoarse voice, then turns and leaves. Mu Yan looks at his departing figure and sighs softly. In his mind, it was as if the dazzling prodigy of Longteng, who had first met the Qilin team, was still in front of him. Who would have thought that behind his dazzling identity, there was a hell paved with blood and pain? Mu Yan gently shakes her head, pulling her thoughts back to alchemy. In fact, she didn't plan to go to Tianguang ruins for the next few days. Instead, he went to the inheritance space to properly ask his 9th master about the Tao of alchemy. It seemed that she had slapped Jun Qingwan in the face when she reached the top of the Xinglin list last night. But in fact, Mu Yan had checked Jun Qingwan's results on the coiled dragon list. His total score was 569,000, and he had used 3 10th grade elixirs, namely the Drifting Cloud elixir, the Snow Soul elixir, and the Soaring Dragon elixir. Mu Yan had heard of the Drifting Cloud pill and the Snow Soul pill in the Xiuzhen continent. The former was the unobstructed cloud pill, which was used to calm one's soul and remove one's inner demons. It was effective even for tribulation transcendence cultivators. The latter was the Snow Soul elixir, which was a panacea that could heal all external injuries. As long as the limbs weren't directly cut off, even if the bones were broken, they could still grow back in a short time. Although these 2 10th grade elixirs were rare, it wasn't as if no one in the Xiuzhen continent could refine them. What moved Mu Yan the most was the Soaring Dragon elixir. Chapter 24:19. Arrogant and despotic, Liang Chen's army, half of Jun Qingwan's score of 560,000 points was obtained by the Rising Dragon pill. On the 10th day, she refined the Rising Dragon pill and handed it over to Tianguang Su for appraisal. Only then did she surpass Su Qingling, who was originally ranked first on the Coiling Dragon list. Mayan had never heard of the Rising Dragon pill before. But for Tianguang Su to give such a high score, it must not be simple. Mayan is self-aware. She still can't refine a 10th grade elixir. Even if she could, she might not be able to get such a high score. It seems that if she wants to win the pill competition, she needs to work harder. However, Mayan doesn't know. While she was wholeheartedly devoting herself to alchemy, Tianguang Su, or the Xiuzhen continent's conspiracy against her and Liang Chen's army, has quietly unfolded. Xiang Street, Xianyang City. A middle-aged nascent soul stage man is suddenly stopped by a group of people in an alley. Who are you people? Why are you blocking my way? The leader's gaze sweeps over the Qinkuan bag on his waist, and he smiles mischievously. Luyang swordsman, right? We've been waiting for you here for a long time. The middle-aged man is surprised. How do you know my name in Tianguang Su? I don't know you. Hee, it doesn't matter if you know us or not. But we know that a few days ago, you bought a 7th grade barrier-breaking pill from Lousy's #1 shop, right? Yes, so what? The leader shows a mocking and disgusted smile. You haven't joined Liang Chen's army. What qualifications do you have to buy things from Lousy's #1 shop? If you're sensible, hand over that 7th grade barrier-breaking pill, and you'll be spared physical pain. Who the hell are you people? Us? Several people laugh. We're naturally Liang Chen's army. The elixirs refined by Great God Yi are exclusive to our Liang Chen's army. Who do you think you are, daring to fight with us? Yes, only our Liang Chen's army can use the things refined by Great God Yi. If you obediently hand it over, we'll let you live. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. The middle-aged man swore that he would rather die than hand it over. In the end, he was beaten black and blue by them, and all of his cosmos pouches were snatched away. In the end, these people threw out a sentence: you dare to go against our Liangchen army, this is your fate. Purple Cloud World, White Moon City. What are you doing? What right do you have to barge into my house? It's you, White Moon Spiritual Light, who slandered Great God Yi in the Tianguang ruins. Today, our Liangchen Great Army is here to enforce justice on behalf of heaven. Inside the room, the pale-faced girl looked at the corpses on the floor, feeling both anger and fear. She stared at the criminal in front of her with tears in her eyes and said loudly, "When did I? I've always admired Goddess Yi. How could I possibly speak ill of her? Hee, don't quibble." Someone had heard it. As a member of Liang Chen's army, you weren't faithful enough to Great God Yi. Today, we represent Liang Chen's army to punish you. Boss, this girl's skin is soft and tender. It would be a pity to just beat her up. Why don't we? The girl retreated in fear, wanting to escape. However, she was pressed against the ground, unable to break free. Shrill screams came from the room, accompanied by the merry laughter of the men. Such a scene played out in Purple Cloud World and Tianguang ruins as well. Those cultivators who went to other shops to purchase elixirs and Dharma treasures would suddenly be stopped by the people who call themselves Liang Chen's army. Little cuties who still have tickets, hurry up and vote. It's the last day of April. Chapter 24:20. After a series of threats and promises, he told them that if they bought from other shops, they were not allowed to buy from God Yi. Gradually, Liang Chen's army's reputation in Tianguang ruins became extremely bad. Everyone was angry but did not dare to speak. Tianguang ruins, floating life pavilion. At this moment, many people had gathered. There were men and women, old and young. But regardless of gender or age, they all exuded an intimidating aura. It was obvious that these people were highly respected in their daily lives. Pa! A slap was slammed on the table. An old man in his 50s stood up angrily and shouted, "What bullshit, Yi Liangchen, he is really too much. He dares to bully our Longevity Valley. Master Bai, don't be angry. This Liang Chen's army has been arrogant for a long time. Today, all the famous people on the pill competition 4 lists have gathered together to discuss how to deal with Liang Chen's army and resist Yi Liangchen." Looking around, the men and women in the room were all in the top 10 of the Apricot Forest, Colored Glaze, Spiritual Pivot, and Coiling Dragon lists. The one who slammed the table and shouted was Bai Ziliang, the top of the 8th grade Colored Glaze list. He was the Valley Master of Longevity Valley. Longevity Valley was not strong, but it was famous for alchemy. Master Bai, the Valley Master of Longevity Valley, was a famous alchemy master in the Purple Cloud domain, the top of the Colored Glaze list. Bai Ziliang had a fiery temper and was extremely protective. This time, one of his favorite grand disciples was seriously injured by Liang Chen's army, and he was furious. Most of the people in the room revealed angry expressions. A female cultivator even gritted her teeth and said, "What, Liang Chen's army? I think they are clearly scum. It would have been fine if they had only beaten and threatened others, but they had even humiliated an innocent girl. I heard that a young lady in White Moon City was humiliated to death just because she said one bad thing about Yi Liangchen. Bastards. We must not let this group of bastards continue to be so arrogant. That's right, as long as Liang Chen's army is not eliminated, Tianguang ruins will never have a peaceful day. Chase Yi Liangchen out, and Liang Chen's army will naturally collapse. Everyone in the room was enraged. Sitting at the head of the table, Ling Qingwan watched this scene without saying a word. Under her veil, the corner of her mouth slowly curved into a cold smile. She glanced at a man dressed like a scholar not far away. The man smiled and nodded. He coughed lightly and stood up. Everyone, please listen to me, Dong Yulong. As soon as these words came out, the room fell silent for a moment. Because this Dong Yulong was number 1 on the 9th grade spiritual pivot list. He was an alchemy grandmaster that had been invited by the Lan imperial clan with a large sum of money to participate in the alchemy competition. With this kind of identity and strength, there were only 2 top rankers of the coiled dragon list, Ling Qingwan and Su Qingling. He was qualified to suppress him. Therefore, as soon as he opened his mouth, everyone's gazes immediately turned to him, no longer making any noise. Dong Yulong held a folding fan in his hand and waved it gently with a proud smile on his face. Today's banquet was organized by me. Its purpose is to get rid of the tumor in Tianguang ruins, so that we can have a clean Tianguang ruins and the elixir competition. Master Dong, if you have any brilliant ideas, please speak. Dong Yulong folded his folding fan and said in a deep voice, I wonder if everyone still remembers that the elixir competition has a rule of expulsion and recommendation? Chapter 24-21. His words stunned everyone present. Immediately, someone reacted. Master Dong, are you referring to the rule that, as long as the top 4 alchemy rankings agree, they can recommend any cultivator, or even a mortal, to participate in the alchemy competition? Otherwise, they can expel any alchemist? That's right. During the period of the elixir competition, Tianguang ruins would hang the apricot forest, colored glass, spiritual pivot, and coiling dragon rolls on the rebirth square. It wasn't without reason that every champion would make an announcement in the Tianguang ruins. The reason for that was because those 4 lists possessed a certain influence on the upcoming Grand Alchemy competition. For example, this recommend and expel at will rule was one of them. But this rule doesn't apply. Soon, someone objected, Yap Liangchen is the number 1 of the Xing Lin list. As long as she doesn't agree to expel herself, what's the use of the other 3? Everyone nodded in agreement. Yap Liangchen would only expel himself if he was an idiot. Dong Yulong smiled. Have you forgotten that there is a second condition for the recommendation and expulsion? That is, apart from myself, if the top 10 alchemists on the pill competitions for ranking lists reach the same conclusion, the recommendation and expulsion rules will also be fulfilled. The reason why I have gathered all of you here today is because I hope that all of you can agree to stop Yi Liangchen from participating in the Great Alchemy competition. Everyone was shocked. They looked at each other and realized that the top 10 cultivators of the pill competition were all here except for the top of the apricot forest list, Yi Liangchen. Dong Yulong's expression turned serious, and he said in a clear voice, Everyone, think about it, why does Liangchen's army dare to be so arrogant? So brutal? Do as he pleases? Isn't it because they have Yi Liangchen to support them? If we want to defeat Liang Chen's army and let those bastards get their punishment, we must first take drastic measures and defeat the people who are supporting them in one fell swoop. Everyone in the room nodded in agreement. They did not have any enmity with Yap Liangchen. However, during this period of time, the actions of Liang Chen's army had truly touched their bottom line. Dong Yulong turned around and slightly bowed towards Ling Qingwan and Su Qingling, Immortal Fairy Qingwan, Master Su, I wonder what the 2 of you think. Ling Qingwan's expression was cold and indifferent. Her face was still covered with a veil, but it was still faintly discernible that she was devouring. She had a beautiful face. A pair of cold and arrogant beautiful eyes swept across everyone in the room. The young men immediately blushed, their eyes filled with infatuation. A trace of ridicule flashed past Ling Qingwan's eyes, but the expression on her face was clear and cold. She said, Yi Liangchen is merely a person who fishes for fame. Those who follow him are naturally not good people. Not only should she be banished, but she should also be forced to swear an oath to never enter the Tianguang ruins again. She lowered her eyes slightly, concealing the cold murderous intent in her eyes. That bastard Yi Liangchen dared to humiliate her in public. She would destroy her reputation and make her die a graveless death. Of course, before she died, the Medicine King's inheritance would belong to her, Ling Qingwan. Hee, even that bitch Jun Mayan can't beat me. What is Yi Liangchen? Good, Fairy Qingwan is right. Dong Yulong clapped his hands and exclaimed in admiration, it's just that if we expel her from the pill competition, she'll always make a comeback and allow Liang Chen's army to do all sorts of evil things. Only by forcing her to never enter the Tianguang ruins would they be able to get rid of any future troubles. Master Su, what do you think? Everyone turned to look at a woman sitting in the corner. Chapter 24-22. The lady's eyes were exquisite and beautiful, but she was dressed casually and simply. Her long black hair was unadorned, and only a few loose bundles of hair were tied up. She looked lazy and carefree. While the others were talking, she was holding a jade pot in her hand and drinking it leisurely. The room was bustling, but it seemed to have nothing to do with her. When she heard Dong Yulong's question, she looked up and said with a faint smile, you said that Liang Chen's army is causing trouble recently? Where's the evidence? Dong Yulong was stunned. Everyone in the room was stunned as well. Dong Yulong said, Master Su, what do you mean? Those evil people said that they are Liang Chen's army and they are working for him. How can this be wrong? Pft, Su Qingling sneered. She held her head with one hand and leaned on the table. They said that they are Liang Chen's army, so they are? So if I call myself Dong Yulong's grandmother, then you are really my grandson? Pft. Someone in the room couldn't help but laugh. Dong Yulong was furious. He couldn't pretend to be a scholar anymore. Su Qingling, don't cross the line. Su Qingling waved her hand, TSK, why are you so agitated? I was just making an example. She slowly brought the jade pot to her plump and bright red lips and casually took a sip. Her charming and enchanting look made many male cultivators in the room swallow their saliva. Dong Yulong was so angry that his chest kept moving up and down. He only calmed down after a while and gritted his teeth. Su Qingling, everyone here agreed to punish the scum and expel Yi Liangchen. Only you don't agree? Don't tell me you already know who Yi Liangchen is? Suddenly, he squinted his eyes and sneered, oh right, I remember now. When Yi Liangchen first appeared in Azure Blue World, your nephew Su Zi was there too. I remember someone saw Su Zi standing next to Yi Liangchen during the finals of Golden Heavenly Light. As expected, you are protecting Yi Liangchen. Could it be that your nephew, Su Zi, is a member of Liang Chen's army? Su Qingling's face darkened, and a cold glint appeared in her eyes. Dong Yulong, do you dare to slander my nephew again? Seeing that the two of them were at loggerheads, the others in the room hurriedly tried to mediate. Su Qingling placed the jade pot on the table and said coldly, you want me to agree to activate the arbitrary banishment rule? Sure. Then prove to me that those heartless bastards were really ordered by Yi Liangchen. Inside Laozi's #1 shop, Easy Bro, North Sunflower, and Xiang Wan were running around in circles. How did it become like this? How could Devour Liangchen's army do such a thing? Bei Kuei Xiang Wan covered her face with her hands and could not stop her tears. White Moon Spirit Light is a very, very good girl. I remember her. The last time she saw God Yi, she was so happy. How could he die? Did Liang Chen's army really do such a heartless thing? Impossible. This is impossible. Sister Hua punched the wall fiercely. We have tried our best to control Liang Chen's army. We announced all kinds of rules and even forbade them from slandering other alchemists. If it was the real Liang Chen's army, the people who truly support God Yi, how could they do such a thing? Chapter 24-23. Elegant Bro gritted his teeth. Then someone is impersonating Liang Chen Dajuan. Who is it? Who is so sinister and vicious to think of such a despicable method? The few of them were talking. Suddenly, someone rushed in from outside the door and shouted anxiously. Oh no, oh no. Elegant Bro, little Kuei, go to Reincarnation Square and take a look. Elegant Bro rushed out. What happened? Liang Chen Dajuan, it's someone from Liang Chen Dajuan. He did evil in Baiyu City again and was caught. The person who spoke had panic, anger, and pain written all over his face. He could not stop crying. It's Liang Chen Dajuan. It's really one of Liang Chen Dajuan's members. They did unforgivable evil. Now, all the elixir masters in Tianguang ruins have joined forces to expel Almighty Yi from the elixir competition and even banish her from Tianguang ruins forever. Elegant Bro and the other three widened their eyes. What did you say? Reincarnation Square was currently filled with 4 times more people than usual. Everyone could not help but focus their attention on the tower in the middle of the square. From time to time, someone exclaimed excitedly, "Ah, isn't that Master Su Qingling?" She actually came to Tianguang ruins and appeared in Reincarnation Square in person. For a special user like Su Qingling, with enough popularity points, she could choose to hide her tracks. Once they hid their traces and usernames, even if they stood in the crowd, no one would take a second look. Master Dong Yulong is here too. The master of Longevity Valley. He hasn't been to Tianguang ruins for many years. Fairy Qingwan, we love you. We'll support you forever. Someone counted around the tower and could not help but be speechless. This, other than Yi Liangchen who topped the Xing Lin list, all the other elixir masters are here. Even in the elixir competition, there was no way to see so many grandmasters gathered at once. What's going on? Why are all these masters here? Dong Yulong's face was full of pride. He took a step forward and raised his leg to kick casually. Someone let out a muffled groan and fell to the ground. Only then did everyone realize that there were 7 or 8 men in the same attire who were tied up and kneeling on the ground. The rope that bound them was the extremely expensive punishment rope from the Tianguang ruins. Only special class users had the right to purchase it. Furthermore, it could only be used on low popularity users that Tianguang ruins deemed to have done a lot of evil. Soon, someone recognized these men. Liang Chen's army. Back then, the ones who threatened me not to buy medicinal pills from other shops were them. Yes, they were the ones who molested my daughter. If I hadn't arrived in time, my daughter would have. Dong Yulong looked at Su Qingling and chuckled. Master Su, didn't you want evidence? Now, I've caught these bastards from Liang Chen's army with my own hands. This can be used as evidence, right? Su Qingling frowned slightly and did not speak. Dong Yulong chuckled. I understand now. Master Su, are you suspecting that these people aren't part of Liang Chen's army? He pulled, and the man on the ground immediately let out a blood-curdling scream. Speak, are you pretending to be Liang Chen's army? Don't pull anymore. I'll talk. The man in the lead let out a blood-curdling scream. My name is He Jinwen. I'm really part of Liang Chen's army. If you don't believe me, you can search me. I have Liang Chen's army's token on me. Chapter 24-24. Bei Kuei, Xiang Wan, and the others who had just arrived at Reincarnation Square felt their vision go black when they heard this. Their faces paled. They knew He Jinwen. He was truly a member of Liang Chen's army. Moreover, He Jinwen's status in the army was not low. He was one of the first customers to buy mutated talismans from Laozi's #1 shop. Even after being suppressed by flourishing Heaven Light and flowing Moon Gate, he had never left. But who would have thought that such a grand elder would give Liang Chen's army a fatal blow? Soon, someone found the token on He Jinwen's body. This token was very special. It was custom-made in Tianguang ruins and could only be used there. The front of the token was engraved with Chen and the back with Wang. Liang Chen's army proudly called this token the King Chen token. But now, this glittering King Chen token was a slap to the face of Liang Chen's army. "I will kill you, you animal." An old man suddenly rushed out from the crowd and punched and kicked He Jinwen. His eyes were red and his face was filled with hatred. He did not care about the possible punishment from Tianguang ruins and even used his spiritual energy. "Give me back my daughter. Animal. Animal. I will make you pay for my daughter's life." Aw. This scene was violent and bloody. The people who saw this only felt grief, indignation and sympathy, and tears trickled down their cheeks. As for Tianguang Su, perhaps it was because of the punishment lasso, he didn't punish him. Dong Yulong waited until the old man had vented enough before looking at Su Qingling and snickered. "Master Su, what else do you have to say? Do you still suspect that he is not from Liang Chen's army and that we slandered him?" Su Qingling frowned and did not speak. Dong Yulong suddenly pointed at Bei Kuei, Xiang Wan, and the others and said loudly, "Look, Liang Chen's most loyal dogs are here too. Why don't we ask them if this He Jinwen is a beast raised by Liang Chen's army?" On Reincarnation Square, everyone's eyes were focused on Bei Kuei, Xiang Wan, and the others. The gazes of yearning, envy, and respect turned into anger and disgust at this moment. Even if they cultivated to the level of devouring in the real world, the weak were prey to the strong, and the victor was king. However, the actions of Liang Chen's army had already touched the bottom line of people's conscience. Bei Kuei Xiang Wan's eyes were red as she said hoarsely, Although he is a member of Liang Chen's army, we didn't know." "Very good." Dong Yulong quickly interrupted her, "Since you admit that he's a member of Liang Chen's army, that means that we didn't capture the wrong person." He suddenly raised his hand, and the punishment chain that was originally binding He Jinwen was suddenly dragged out like a snake. Then, it turned into a whip and lashed at his body. Ah! He Jinwen, who did not even make a sound after being punched and kicked by the old man, screamed like a pig being slaughtered after being whipped by the punishment rope. At the same time, the punishment rope lashed out at the others, causing them to roll on the ground and wail incessantly. However, this miserable scene made the people in the Reincarnation Square cheer loudly. "Do it. Ruthlessly beat them to death. This kind of scum should not be allowed to live in this world. How is punishing these people enough? Liang Chen's army now numbers in the tens of millions, and none of them are good people." Chapter 24-25. If it wasn't for Master Dong and the others standing up for us today, Liang Chen's army would grow stronger by the day, and I wonder how we would be bullied and humiliated. The Reincarnation Square was in chaos. Some people were cursing Yi Liang Chen's army, and some people were helping Yi Liang Chen. Not every Liang Chen's army would bully others. Some of them are very kind and have even helped us before. That's right, and even if Liang Chen Dajuan is in the wrong, actually, it has nothing to do with God Yi. She didn't do anything wrong. However, these people who spoke up for Liang Chen's army. Very quickly, the people who had been deliberately arranged to lead the rhythm of the battle rose up to attack. "Bastard, you're speaking up for them? Are you also a member of Liang Chen's army? Do you also want to be whipped and banished from the Tianguang ruins? If it wasn't for Yi Liang Chen, would his army be so arrogant? In my opinion, it might be Yap Liangchen who asked them to commit such atrocities." Slowly, no one dared to speak up for Liang Chen's army anymore. Some of Yi Liangchen's troops chose to back out. They threw the token of King Chen on the ground and drew a line between them and Yi Liangchen. There were also people who lowered their heads in shame and silently left the Tianguang ruins. Only those like Bei Kuei, Xiang Yuan, and the others were still holding on, but they felt so humiliated, angry, and unwilling, but there was nothing they could do. In front of the tower, Dong Yulong finally withdrew the chain of punishment. He looked down at He Jinwen, who was twitching and moaning, and said coldly, "Speak, who told you to do this?" He Jinwen's face was covered in snot and tears, and his body was trembling non-stop. Hearing the question, his eyes flashed and he stuttered, "No, no one. It's us who want to establish prestige for Liang Chen's army." His evasive action was very obvious, and everyone present saw it. Bai Ziliang had a fiery temper. He couldn't hold it in any longer. He strode forward and snatched Dong Yulong's punishment rope. Then, he whipped Dong Yulong's head and face. "You still dare to lie? Fine, I'll whip you until your soul scatters. Ah ah ah. I don't dare to do it anymore, I'll talk. It's God Yi. It's Yap Liang Chen who asked us to do this." As soon as these words came out, the entire reincarnation square went silent for a moment. North Sunflower Xiang Yuan was the first to scream. "Impossible. Great God, you would never do such a thing. You're slandering me." He Jinwen cried, "Great God Yi is the person I admire the most. If it wasn't for the fact that I really couldn't take it anymore, I wouldn't have sold out Great God Yi. He Jinwen, dare to swear to the heavens that it was really Great God Yi who asked us to do this." As he twitched, he stuttered, "Some time ago, when Almighty Yi had just topped the apricot forest list, he suddenly came to us and asked us to help him clear the obstacles in the elixir competition." She said that the results of the first stage of the elixir competition are closely related to the results of the elixir masters on the 4 lists of the elixir competition, as well as the popularity of the elixir masters in Tianguang ruins. Goddess Yi, although she has great talent, she has only been in contact with elixirs for a short time. Being able to refine a 7th grade bottleneck-breaking elixir is already her limit. How could she possibly refine an 8th grade and 9th grade elixir in half a month, and even enter the glaze and spiritual pivot lists? Because there's no way to do it on the 4 lists of the elixir competition, Great God Yi thought of a way to increase the popularity of the Tianguang ruins. But selling ordinary elixirs and talismans can't increase Great God Yi's popularity so quickly in a short period of time. Chapter 24-26. Only this kind of extreme method that makes everyone revere and submit to Liangchen's army can raise Goddess Ye's popularity to the highest in a short period of time. When He Jinwen spoke, because of the pain and unwillingness, his words were intermittent and unclear. Between the lines, it was as if he wanted to hide something for the person he worshipped. However, it was because of this attitude that the surrounding cultivators had no doubts about his words. A cultivator ran out of the appraiser hall beside the reincarnation plaza and shouted angrily with a trembling voice, "I just checked Tianguang Ruins' recent popularity ranking. Yi Liangchen is indeed number 1. Oh my God. For the pill competition, for the sake of increasing popularity, he actually thought of such an insane method? To think that I worshipped Yi Liangchen so much in the past, comparing her to my most respected young master Yun Shao, now that I think about it, I feel disgusted. Damn it, although I am not a good person, I will definitely not do something like humiliating an innocent girl to death for the sake of popularity. I joined Liangchen's army in the past because I was blind. I want to withdraw immediately. I also withdraw from Liangchen's army." "Pfft, what Liangchen's army? I think it's an army of bastards. Chase all of them out of Tianguang ruins." The cultivators on the reincarnation plaza were extremely angry. The sea of people in the square was boiling with excitement. Everyone was shouting, "Expel Yi Liangchen from the pill competition, expel her from Tianguang ruins. Yi Liangchen, hand over the pill king's inheritance. Scum, don't deserve to be a pill master." Bei Kuei, Xiang Yuan and the others cried and shouted, "Goddess Yi is not this kind of person. However, it was of no use at all. Their voices were too weak and insignificant. The angry crowd couldn't hear their shouts at all, and didn't want to hear their shouts. Ling Qingwan looked at this scene, opened her slender white hand, and casually admired it. The corner of her mouth curled into a mocking and proud smile. See? She was just a mortal from the cultivation continent, defeating her was that easy. He had been too hasty before. To deal with a mere trash, why would she need to do it herself? As long as he borrowed a knife and set it up properly, he would be able to consign her to eternal damnation. Dong Yulong looked at Su Qingling mockingly after hearing everyone's shouts. Master Su, do you still not agree to kick Yi Liangchen out of the competition? Su Qingling was still frowning. She felt that something was wrong. But when she saw the sorrowful appearance of the old man whose daughter had died a tragic death, she sighed softly and did not say anything in the end. Soon, Dong Yulong took out a piece of bright yellow silk and let all the alchemists present imprint their own spiritual sense imprint. What was written on the silk was that all the pill refinement masters objected to Yi Liangchen's participation in the pill refinement competition. They also requested to seal her Tianguang Ruins jade key forever. After all the alchemy grandmasters made a copy of it, they would submit it to Tianguang Ruins. Yi Liangchen was completely ruined in the field of medicinal pellets. Seeing the last spiritual consciousness imprint on Su Qingling, Dong Yulong's mouth slowly curved up. He waved the folding fan in his hand lightly and looked at all the cultivators in the reincarnation plaza with an elegant demeanor. The pill refinement competition is a grand event that belongs to all of us pill refinement masters and is also a carnival for all cultivators. Even if we have to give it our all, we won't let a shameless madman like Yi Liangchen tarnish the competition and tarnish Tianguang Ruins. Chapter 24-27. The champion of the elixir competition belongs to those who are capable and talented. I, Dong Yulong, have always been humble and introspective even though I'm the top ranker on the 9th grade spiritual pivot list. I've never dared to be arrogant. As he spoke, he smiled and said generously, for example, I know that I'm not as good as Fairy Qingwan in alchemy. I'll do my best in the elixir competition. Even if I lose, I'll admit defeat willingly. Everyone nodded. Calm about gains and losses, neither arrogant nor discouraged. With such a state of mind, it was no wonder that Dong Yulong could become a master. As for Fairy Jun Qingwan, who made Master Dong admit defeat, she received even more respect from the crowd. Dong Yulong's expression turned solemn as he continued, we welcome healthy competition. But for people like Yi Liangchen who are not capable enough to refine 8th grade or 9th grade elixirs, he tries to use dishonest means to achieve his goals by harming others. All of us alchemists will join forces to boycott him. Hearing these righteous words, the crowd below couldn't help but cheer. However, at this moment, a familiar vibration came. Then, an even more familiar light shot into the sky. Fireworks exploded in the center of the reincarnation square. For some reason, little Tian's mechanical voice, which had always been dull and calm, seemed to carry a hint of mockery this time. Special announcement from Tianguang Ruins. Special announcement from Tianguang Ruins. The top ranker of the 8th grade glaze list has changed. The new top ranker of the glaze list is Yi Liangchen. Appraised elixir, 1 8th grade heaven nourishing elixir. Total points, 327,000. Dong Yulong's hand that was holding the fan was waving passionately in the air. At this moment, he suddenly froze. He didn't know whether to stop or wave. His expression became even more sluggish, as if he was dumbfounded. He couldn't believe what he had just heard. The originally lively reincarnation square seemed to have been doused with a bucket of cold water. Everyone quieted down. Everyone's expression was still the same as before, filled with righteous indignation and seeking justice. In the next moment, his expression turned into one of dumbfounded shock. What did they just hear? The top ranker of the 8th grade glaze list? But didn't he Jinwen and Dong Yulong say that Yi Liangchen did all those crazy things because he couldn't concoct an 8th grade medicinal pill? Because of the silence on the reincarnation square. Bei Kuei, Xiang Wan, and the others' hoarse cries finally reached everyone's ears. Goddess Yi is a good person. Please don't slander her. If you want to curse, curse our Liangchen army. If you want to expel us, expel our Liangchen army. No matter what punishment it is, we are willing to accept the devouring. Please, don't hurt the people we've protected with all our might. Over and over again, the ones who shouted were North Sunflower, Xiang Wan, Sister Hua, Zhu Xiang, Zhu Yu, and those inconspicuous people in Liang Chen's army who knew and trusted their idols. These voices were very weak. At first, they were drowned out by the malice and the surging crowd. But it never went out or disappeared. At this moment, it finally reached everyone's heart. Then, they finally realized something. One by one, they covered their mouths and cried tears of joy. Ah, the first place on the glaze list. What kind of king is the person I like? I knew Goddess Yi wouldn't be defeated by a mere false accusation. Chapter 24-28. Damn it, what do you mean God Yi isn't capable enough? That's why you came up with such a scheme. Ha ha ha. Our God Yi shall use his strength to slap your faces. He Jinwen, you bastard, didn't you say God Yi can't refine grade 8 and grade 9 elixirs? Someone who can't refine grade 8 elixirs can climb to the top of the glaze list. Ha 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 ha. Dong Yulong's face kept twitching. The pride in Leng Qingwan's eyes instantly turned into malevolence and anger. The other alchemists also looked at each other awkwardly. Only Su Qingling laughed out loud after a moment of shock. Interesting, this lass is really interesting. You said that because I can't refine grade 8 and grade 9 elixirs, I did something outrageous to increase my popularity? Sorry, I will climb to the top of the glaze list for you to see. Su Qingling shifted her gaze and said leisurely, Master Dong, you haven't finished your passionate speech? Why don't you continue? Dong Yulong's mouth twitched violently. He forcefully suppressed his expression and took a deep breath. So what if she can refine grade 8 elixirs? This doesn't prove that she isn't the instigator of He Jinwen. It also doesn't prove that Liang Chen's army isn't harmful. If the top of the glaze list can't prove it, why don't I prove it on behalf of God Yi? A deep and gentle male voice suddenly echoed. In the strangely quiet reincarnation plaza, it was abnormally loud and abrupt. Everyone couldn't help but look towards the direction of the voice. They saw a handsome young man slowly walking towards the central tower. When the cultivators on the reincarnation plaza saw him, many of them exclaimed, God, Fuchen. Fuchen, who was also Chu Tianyu, quickly walked to the bottom of the tower. His eyes swept past He Jinwen, Ling Qingwan, and finally landed on Dong Yulong. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Master Dong, long time no see. Dong Yulong stared at Chu Tianyu and said coldly, Young friend Fuchen, if I didn't remember wrongly, you were also one of the people who competed with Yi Liangchen during the Herb King's inheritance exam. His arrogance and savagery trampled on your dignity and made you lose the chance to become the Herb King's successor. Why are you speaking up for him now? Dong Yulong's question was the same as everyone else's. Many people still remembered the fierce competition between Great God Fuchen and Great God Yi during the Medicine King's inheritance exam. It almost overturned the sky. In the end, Yap Liangchen won the King of Medicine's inheritance. At that time, many people saw Fuchen's ugly expression. In the Tianguang ruins, there were also many people who mocked Fuchen for opening the King of Medicine's inheritance but not being able to become a disciple. It was like going for wool and coming home shorn. Not to mention North Kuei and Xiang Wan's Good Day Army. They had heard with their own ears how Fuchen coerced and tempted their God Yi, bullying and humiliating him. But now, the dust-devouring was speaking up for Yi Liangchen. This development was really incomprehensible to them. Hearing Dong Yulong's words and the discussions of the people below, Dong Yulong's eyes widened. Chu Tianyou's face didn't have the slightest bit of embarrassment. He said calmly, Master Dong must be joking. It's an indisputable fact that I lost to great God Yi. If one's skill is inferior, one must admit defeat. Isn't this what Master Dong said just now? Dong Yulong's face stiffened. Chu Tianyou smiled, oh, I forgot. Chapter 24-29. Oh, I forgot about that. Of course, Master Dong's words didn't count. If I remember correctly, just now, Master Dong personally said that Great God Yi instigated Liang Chen's army to commit atrocities because he couldn't refine a Tier 8 medicinal pill. But in the blink of an eye, it became that even if Goddess Yi got to the top of the Grade 8 glazed tile list, it doesn't prove that she has the ability. Chu Tianyou spread out his hands, you've already said the opposite. With such thick skin, I'm ashamed of my own inferiority and willingly admit defeat. Chu Tianyou said it as if he was admitting defeat, but the meaning behind his words was no longer indirect abuse, but blatant mockery. Many people in the square couldn't help but burst out laughing. Dong Yulong's face turned green and white, the hand holding the fan was trembling slightly, he was obviously furious. He gritted his teeth and shouted, isn't it just a Grade 8 list? Do you think I care about it? Don't forget, I'm the top of the Grade 9 spiritual pivot list. Yi Liang Chen, this silly girl. Want to question me, want to step on me, if you have the ability, take my position as the top of the spiritual pivot list first. This roar shook the heavens and the earth, silencing the noisy square that had been mocking him. Some of Dong Yulong's supporters immediately cheered. Master Dong is mighty, isn't it just a Grade 8 glazed tile list? Do you think Master Dong cares? That's right, showing off a Grade 8 glazed tile list, can't you see who you're doing it in front of? Yi Liang Chen is so amazing, if you have the ability, take the top of the Grade 9 spiritual pivot list too. Don't joke around, Yi Liang Chen has only learned pill concoction for a month. No matter how talented he is, with the inheritance of the King of Medicine, making Grade 7 or 8 pills is already his limit, he still wants to make a Grade 9 pill. I think it's better to daydream. In the square, Ling Qingwan and Dong Yulong's supporters were shouting loudly, mocking Yi Liang Chen for overestimating himself. However, most of the passers-by and Yi Liang Chen's army looked at each other, strangely silent. Cough. Don't you guys feel that this scene is a little familiar? I'll say that I'm tired of seeing this kind of face-slapping reversal back in Divine Elephant City. Well, did you guys notice that Goddess Yi has already slaughtered the rank 7 Apricot Forest list and the rank 8 Glazed list? What is she trying to do? Are they going to slaughter all 4 lists of the pill competition? Someone shuddered, his face full of fear. Logic tells me that this is impossible. No matter how powerful an alchemist was, once he refined a high-level medicinal pill, his control over a low-level medicinal pill would weaken. For example, the purity of the 9th grade Vast Yuan pill that Dong Yulong was refining now could reach 80%, but if he refined an 8th grade pill, he could easily refine it, but the purity might not even reach 70%. Conversely, if a person had precise control over the refinement of a grade 8 pill, even if he could refine a grade 9 pill in a short period of time, it would be impossible for the pill's properties to reach perfection, and thus be given a high score by Tianguang ruins. It was already extremely difficult for Yi Liang Chen to make it to the top of the rank 7 Apricot Forest list and the rank 8 Glazed list in 7 days, and almost no one could do it. It was impossible for him to make it to the rank 9 Spiritual Pivot list in less than half a month before the pill competition. Gulp. Chapter 24-30. Someone swallowed his saliva and murmured, I know it's impossible, but when it comes to Great God Yi, why do I feel that it's so? Before the Dragon Ascension 6 lists were slaughtered, everyone thought it was impossible. Before the Medicine King's Inheritances assessment came out, we also thought it was impossible to complete. However, there was one person in this world who did it. From then on, as long as they were competing with this person on the same list, they would tremble. From then on, many people in Azure Blue World, Purple Cloud World, and Tianguang Ruins would never forget the fear of being dominated by a name. From then on, there was no king under Yi Liangchen. Leng Qingwan and Dong Yulong supporters heard their discussion and couldn't help but laugh mockingly. What, there's no king under Yi Liangchen? I think their brains are broken. Do they really think that the pill competitions for lists will be like the Dragon Ascension 6 lists, with a person's name on it? Dong Yulong listened to the voices below and regained his calm. He opened the fan in his hand again, raised it in the air and pressed it down, indicating for everyone to be quiet. Everyone, there's no need to feel sorry for this Dong. She's just a little girl, Dong Yulong, don't even put her in my eyes. To put it bluntly, as early as 3 years ago, I've already lost interest in refining 8th grade pills. A burst of laughter came from below. Dong Yulong retracted his fan and lightly fanned himself. I believe that Yi Liangchen's talent is outstanding, but outstanding talent isn't the capital for her to be arrogant and presumptuous. Look at our fairy Qingwan, she became the coiling dragon role champion at such a young age. Did she form an army of Liangchen to bully the good and commit crimes? Is she arrogant and despotic, looking down on us seniors? Leng Qingwan supporters immediately let out a series of earth-shattering shouts. Fairy Qingwan is unique in this world. Where did that wild girl Yi Liangchen come from? How is she qualified to be compared to our fairy Qingwan? Fairy Qingwan, fairy Qingwan. We love you. Dong Yulong bowed slightly towards Leng Qingwan before revealing a regretful expression. He shook his head lightly and said, Yi Liangchen, I know you're in the Tianguang Ruins, but I don't know where you're hiding and listening. Huh, for a despicable villain like you, isn't the best at making those who support you rush to the front, build momentum for you, and do evil for you? To devour. Unfortunately, I have to disappoint you. Liangchen Dajuan's actions have already exceeded our bottom line. You will be completely expelled from this alchemy competition, and will not be qualified to participate. These words caused Liang Chen's army to be unhappy. Why can't Almighty Yi participate in the alchemy competition? The matter hasn't been investigated at all. The reason that He Jinwen gave just now has already been slapped in the face by Almighty Yi. Chu Tianyu coldly glanced at Dong Yulong and Leng Qingwan. He didn't say anything, but his hands were secretly moving. Liangchen Dajuan's words caused Dong Yulong to sneer, revealing a mocking expression, refining a grade 8 medicinal pill, and you say it's a slap in the face? Could it be that you think that with just a grade 8 medicinal pill, you can obtain a good result in the alchemy competition? Huh, what a joke. Then where do you place the alchemy grandmasters on the 9th grade spiritual pivot list and the 10th grade coiling dragon list? Doesn't Yi Liangchen like to slap faces? I, Dong Yulong, am standing right here. Chapter 24:31. Dong Yulong raised his chin and laughed coldly. If she has the ability, then step on me from the top of the spiritual pivot board. At that time, she will have the qualifications to say that she slapped my face. Heh, since this is Master Dong's wish, I will feel bad if I don't fulfill it. A light and sweet-sounding voice rang out from the crowd. This voice was calm and indifferent, without any fluctuations, but it was like a clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's ears. Chu Tianyou's eyes suddenly lit up as he stared at the periphery of the crowd. The brilliance in his eyes seemed to carry the weight of the entire world. An ordinary-looking girl slowly walked over. Wherever she went, the crowd would automatically split into two. All the gazes and attention in the entire square were focused on her at this moment. Apart from her, everything else had become a backdrop. God Yi. Ah, after so long, I finally see God Yi again. Guru Yi, slaughtering the Xing Lin list and the Glaze list is so cool. We will love you forever. Amidst the screams and cheers, Mu Yen slowly walks up to Dong Yulong. There seemed to be a ripple of water in her peach blossom eyes that rippled like water. Master Dong, I heard that you really want to be slapped in the face? The corner of Dong Yulong's mouth twitched a little. He said sternly, Yi Liang Chen, where are your manners? What did your parents and master teach you? Facing a senior, facing an alchemist of a higher level than you, is this your attitude? Mu Yan's face slightly sinks. Slandering her was one thing, but now even her parents and master were being slandered. Good. Very good. However, the more furious she was, the more radiant the smile on her face became. Things like manners, of course, can only be shown in front of people who are equally well-mannered. I'm afraid Master Dong is not worthy. You. Also, you said that this is the attitude I should have when facing my seniors, when facing alchemists of a higher rank than me? She brushed the corner of her clothes and said slowly, what a pity. Soon, you won't be. Dong Yulong was shocked. What do you mean by that? Before he could finish his words, Mayan raises her hand to the air and snaps her fingers lightly. Boom! The Tianguang ruins shook. Pillars of light shot into the sky, and colorful fireworks exploded. It was a familiar formula, a familiar smell, and a familiar mechanical sound. Tianguang Ruins Special Announcement. Tianguang Ruins Special Announcement. The number 1 ranker of the spiritual pivot list had changed. The new number 1 ranker of the spiritual pivot list was Yap Liangchen. Appraising the medicinal pills, 1 9th grade truth pill and 1 9th grade yang rejuvenation pill. Total points, 43,000, the entire reincarnation square was dead silent. Leng Qingwan's eyes suddenly widened, her face filled with shock and disbelief. Patter. The folding fan in Dong Yulong's hand broke into 2. His stiff body slowly turned around, his eyes fixed on one of the light screens on the reincarnation square. List of the 9th grade spiritual pivot, number 1, Yap Liang Chen, total points, 453,000. Second place, Dong Yulong, 364,000 points. Turning his head again, he saw the apricot forest list and the glaze list. The words Yi Liangchen were all shining brightly on the wall. In just a short 7 days, out of the 4 lists of the pill competition, there were already 3 lists, and 150 alchemists were trampled under the feet of this unremarkable girl in front of him. This is Yap Liang Chen. Dong Yulong only felt his vision go black, and he almost fainted. Chapter 2432. Dong Yulong's lips kept trembling. He opened and closed his mouth for a long time, as if he wanted to say something, but he couldn't make a sound. Mu Yan looks at him with a smile that isn't a smile. Using a voice that is like the sounds of nature, she enunciates each word. Master Dong, I've just offered you your favorite to be slapped in the face in public. I wonder if Master Dong is satisfied? Do you want to try it again? The next moment, before Dong Yulong could say anything, Liang Chen's army and the passers-by below had completely exploded. Fuck. What did I just say? Don't compete with Great God Yi in slaughtering the list. Otherwise, you'll just be waiting to be slapped in the face, right? 7 days. Slaughtering the 7th grade apricot forest list, the 8th grade glazed list, and the 9th grade spiritual pivot list in 7 days. What kind of concept is that? Have you forgotten? Other than these 3 lists, there was also the trend list. Right now, the first place of the popularity leaderboard, Talisman Refinement Sub-Leaderboard is Great God Ye's Barrier-Breaking Talisman. The first place of the Medicinal Pills Sub-Leaderboard is still Great God Ye's Barrier-Breaking Pill. Great God Yi has always been like this. Either he doesn't make a move, or once he does, it's a one-hit kill. Now, who else dares to question the identity of Miracle Medicine King Yi? I ask, who else is there? Step forward. See if your father doesn't smash your face. There was a burst of laughter on the square. Liang Chen's army, which had just been suppressed to the point of being unable to breathe and were even crying out of grief and grievance, were all exhilarated at this moment. Their bodies and minds were indescribably carefree. As for those who didn't trust Yap Liang Chen and insulted him, they even threw away Yap Liang Chen's army ID card. Now, they felt embarrassed and regretful. Of course, the ones who felt the most ashamed weren't the army of Liang Chen and the passers-by who were encouraged. Instead, it was the alchemy grandmasters who stood in the center of the reincarnation square under the tower. Filled with righteous indignation, they gathered together and signed a contract agreeing to the expulsion. His heart was filled with righteousness, and he wanted to expel the scum who did evil. In the blink of an eye, everything that they thought was the cause and effect was overturned. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, his face was slapped loudly. Some of the thin-skinned ones wished they could leave the Tianguang ruins immediately so that they wouldn't embarrass themselves here. Among them, only Su Qingling had an interested smile on her face. From time to time, he would look at Mayan, then look at Dong Yulong and Leng Qingwan, the corners of his mouth curling up in a smile of interest. Dong Yulong gritted his teeth so hard that they made cracking sounds. Only then did he manage to suppress the expression on his face and the roar that was about to burst out of his mouth. However, the words that came out of his mouth were no longer able to maintain his cool and calm demeanor. This is impossible. In just 7 short days, it's impossible for you to learn how to refine a grade 9 elixir after learning how to refine a grade 8 elixir. No. This was no longer just learning it, but refining the best and most perfect elixir. Devour perfect, even ruthlessly trampling his vast essence pill underfoot. There's no way you concocted this pill. Dong Yulong thought about it over and over again and said resolutely, you must have taken the pills refined by someone else and passed them off as your own. That's right. That must be the case. Even the 8th and 7th grade medicinal pills were definitely not refined by you. Mu Yen burst out laughing, Master Dong, the way you struggle on your deathbed is really interesting. However, as I said, since you like to be slapped in the face so much, then I will definitely satisfy you. Saying that, she said unhurriedly, requesting Tianguang ruins to release the refining images of the grade 8 heaven mending pill, grade 9 yang returning pill and truth pill. Chapter 2433. Little Tian's calm voice came from the sky. Got it. Then, above the tower, on the light screen that originally displayed the 8th grade glazed list and the 9th grade spiritual pivot list, a scene of a young girl refining pills appeared. Seeing this scene, Dong Yulong's face turned pale. Those who had just revived from the dead and wanted to cheer for Dong Yulong immediately fell silent and gave up. If there were enough materials in the Jade Key and the alchemist's divine sense was strong enough. In theory, refining pills in Tianguang ruins was possible. But generally speaking, alchemists who wanted to climb the 4 lists would not choose to refine pills in Tianguang ruins. Firstly, no one had such a strong and vigorous divine sense. They had to maintain their soul body in Tianguang ruins and separate a part of it to precisely control the alchemy fire. Secondly, Tianguang ruin simulation of the various elixirs was indeed almost identical, but it was only almost. If one was not familiar with the properties of the elixirs, the slightest deviation could result in a difference of tens of thousands of points. No alchemist would be stupid enough to take such a risk. But the scene played on the light screen. The young girl was in the alchemy room of the appraiser hall. And after she finished refining the pills, she walked straight to the glazed goblet, used to appraise pills. She casually put the pills in her hand on it. Not long after, the glazed goblet emitted a glaring red light, and the number of points displayed on it kept rising. After putting in a yang rejuvenation pill, it had reached 363,000 points, only 1,000 points away from Dong Yulong, who was in first place. But Dong Yulong had used 5 kinds of pills to obtain the first place on the spiritual pivot list. And Yi Liangchen had only used 1, and his points were almost equal. When the young girl put the second true elemental pill into the glazed goblet, the entire Tianguang ruins was shaken, and the spiritual pivot list changed hands. Dong Yulong's face was deathly pale, and his body swayed. At this moment, his pride and self-esteem were all trampled underfoot, crushed to a pulp. Ha 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 ha. I'm starting to sympathize with Dong Yulong. Didn't he know that in addition to the nickname, List Slaughtering Demon, Great Master Yi had another nickname, Little Face Slapping Expert? Being slapped in the face once or twice isn't enough, you just have to come up and slap me a third time. A dignified alchemy grandmaster, now you've lost all your face. TSK, he asked for it. If it wasn't for him saying that our great god Yi isn't strong enough and ordering people to do those crazy devouring things, would I, great god Yi, have the time to care about him? Why can't those who have their faces slapped learn to be obedient? Do you think that just because ordinary people can't do it and you can't do it, Almighty Yi can't do it? I'm very curious right now. Will the last remaining ranking, the rank 10 coiled dragon ranking, be trampled by Almighty Yi in the end? Dong Yulong was speechless. Bai Ziliang suddenly steps forward, calmly looking at Mayan. I don't care how strong you are, whether you can trample me under your feet or not. All I need is for you to tell me, this man. He pointed at He Jinwen. Is he one of Liang Chen's men? Mayan's gaze coldly sweeps over He Jinwen, making He Jinwen shiver all of a sudden, and he tries to curl his body into a ball, reducing his presence. She looks up at Bai Ziliang and nods, yes. Chapter 24-34. Bai Ziliang's face was suddenly filled with anger. So, you're admitting that you allowed your men to commit murder, injure the people of Longevity Valley, and humiliate an innocent girl to death? The noisy reincarnation square quieted down again. Someone suddenly realized. Even if Yi Liangchen wasn't the one who ordered them to do this, the actions of Yi Liangchen's army were indeed devoid of conscience. The old man who had just beaten He Jinwen also came to his senses at this moment. She suddenly cries and pounces towards Mayan, screaming loudly, "Give me back my daughter, give me back my daughter. My daughter worships you so much, looks up to you, and talks about God Yi in front of me all day, but, what did you bring her? It was a catastrophic disaster. Give me back my daughter." The old man's face was filled with anger and despair. He shouted hysterically, wanting to drag Mu Yan into hell with him. The girl who had been arrogant and carefree in front of Dong Yulong just now had a calm expression on her face and didn't dodge. However, just as the old man is about to pounce on Mu Yan, Chu Tianyu suddenly rushes over, blocking in front of Mayan. The old man's sharp nails directly cut a wound on his face. Physical damage in the sky-light ruins would not be reflected in the physical body. However, his divine soul would truly feel pain. However, Chu Tianyu's face was scratched until his bones were exposed, and half of his eyes were poked blind, but he didn't even frown. Mu Yan's brows jump fiercely, and she quickly steps forward. "You." Chu Tianyu smiled at her. "It's all right. This bit of pain is nothing to me." Mu Yan opened her mouth to speak. But she was interrupted by Chu Tianyu. "Miss, let me handle this matter. You promised to give me a chance to prove my worth, didn't you?" Thunder clouds rolled above the reincarnation square. This was because the elder's actions had already violated the iron law of Tianguang ruins. The lightning tribulation was about to descend. Mayan's eyes narrow, and her divine sense envelopes the old man. Once the lightning tribulation descended, the one to bear it would no longer be the old man, but her. However, to Mayan's surprise, when her divine sense is linked with the old man, and she's ready to bear the thunder tribulation, the tribulation clouds in the sky instantly disappeared. Mu Yan couldn't help but be surprised in her heart. Little Tian? What was going on? She devours. He remembered that little Tian had mentioned that even he couldn't go against the rules of Tianguang ruins. At most, he could find a small loophole within the scope of the rules and give her some convenience. Soon, Lil Tian's voice sounded in his ears. "It's master's order." Master said that he would give Yi Liangchen the same defense authority as Master, which was the highest level of defense authority. All of Heaven Light Ruins attacks cannot be used on the first host. It's Master's orders. Little genius didn't break the rules. Mu Yan stares blankly. Xiao Tian, who is your master? Why did he give her such a high defense clearance? First host, little Tian, you can't tell. At this time, Chu Tianyou's injuries had already healed, and he walked to the old man's side. Mayan can only suppress the doubts in her heart. Uncle, I'm very sorry that Liang Chen's army was poorly managed and brought disaster to you and your daughter. However, the most important thing now is to find the real culprit so that your daughter can rest in peace in heaven. Chu Tianyou's voice was calm and deep, yet sonorous and powerful. Word by word, it smashed into the hearts of the old man and everyone present. Chapter 24:35. The old man's murky eyes, brimming with hatred, slowly focus after hearing these words. Behind the scenes, the culprit? What do you mean by that? Chu Tianyu smiles faintly, looking at He Jinwen who's curled up on the ground. In the end, who instructed you to deliberately ruin the reputation of Liang Chen's army? He Jinwen's body trembles, his voice trembling. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a veteran of Liang Chen's army. I only did these things to help Great God Yi quickly accumulate fame. Great God Yi. Great God Yi. He Jinwen cries and shouts as he crawls towards Mayan. I'm really your most loyal supporter. I bought all the talismans and elixirs in Laozi's #1 store under the heavens. I worship you so much, how could I harm you? Everything I did was for you, for Liang Chen's army, you know that, don't you? Mayan looks down at him, the corners of her mouth slightly curling up. Oh? Is that so? I'm the one who instructed you to do those beastly things, and it's also for me? For Liang Chen's army? He Jinwen shudders from head to toe. Soon after, tears stream down, a tragic appearance of someone who's been wronged, but is willing to bear it. No, I was wrong about devouring just now. I did all of this voluntarily, it wasn't Great God Ye's instruction. I thought that by doing this, it would make more people fear Liang Chen's army, make them yearn to join Liang Chen's army, and also let Great God Yi win first place in the pill competition. But Great God Yi doesn't know that I, He Jinwen, did it voluntarily. It has nothing to do with Great God Yi and Liang Chen's army. If you want to punish me, then punish me. If you want blood to be paid with blood, then kill me. If He Jinwen blindly denies it, there's basically no one present who would believe him. But his tragic and mournful appearance of, I'm shouldering all the blame by myself, makes many people a little uncertain. Dong Yulong comes to his senses at this time, and immediately sneers. Yi Liangchen, you really have a loyal and devoted subordinate. In order to protect you, he deliberately misled us so that you couldn't refine level 8 and level 9 elixirs. Now that he's abandoned by you, he's still willing to bear all the charges. Mayan slightly narrows her eyes, and smiles lightly. She doesn't know who found this He Jinwen. He really did have some skills. Doing so would not only make others suspect whether they were the ones who ordered it. More importantly, Liang Chen's army would be blamed for this crime. Didn't he see the suspicious looks in the eyes of many people in the Rebirth Square? Mu Yan, however, was neither angry nor annoyed. She said unhurriedly, don't worry, Master Dong liked to be slapped in the face. How could only 3 rounds be enough? Aren't we carefully preparing the finale of the 4th match for you? Dong Yulong's face turned pale. His face was filled with ferocity, but he was really scared. Yi Liangchen, stop bluffing. This He Jinwen is a member of your Liangchen army, there's no way you can deny it. Mu Yan indifferently glances at him, not saying anything. On the contrary, it was Chu Tianyu who took a step forward, saying slowly, everyone present, have you heard of the truth pill? Truth pill? As soon as these words came out, everyone in the square was stunned. Never heard of the truth pill? But this term, why did it sound somewhat familiar? Suddenly, someone came to his senses and cried out in surprise. It's one of the medicinal pills in Great God Ye's ranking on the level 9 spirit pivot list. Chapter 2436. Chu Tianyu let out a slight smile. In fact, if Great God Yi spent a little more time to refine the Yang returned elixir even more perfectly, she would be able to rank first on the spirit pivot board with just one elixir. But she used the second elixir, the truth elixir. That is because today, this elixir will display its interesting effects in front of all of you. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Tianyu's right palm pressed down towards He Jinwen. In the next moment, a radiance lit up below He Jinwen's body. Lines of runes appeared on the ground around him, gradually forming a formation. Everyone scratched their heads in confusion. Just now, he was talking about Liang Chendajuan's innocence and then he mentioned the truth elixir. Everyone was eagerly anticipating this elixir that they had never heard of before. But Chu Tianyu was setting up an array again. Wasn't this jump a little too fast? Dong Yulong spoke sternly. Yi Liangchen, Fuchen, what are you two doing? Do you think you can escape punishment by pretending to be mysterious? Let me tell you, Liang Chendajuan has done so many atrocious things and should be punished. Chu Tianyu looked at him with ridicule and squatted down. He grabbed Dong Yulong's lower jaw and fed him an elixir. Cough, cough, cough. You, what did you feed me? He Jinwen panicked at first, but he immediately recalled that this was the Tianguang ruins. Even if Chu Tianyu fed him the perforating poison, his divine spirit would at most experience the pain of the poison. It wouldn't truly harm his body. Thinking up to this point, He Jinwen instantly calmed down. He looked at Chu Tianyu with a distressed expression, then looked at Mu Yan and spoke in a hoarse voice, Great God Yi, didn't I say it already? Everything has nothing to do with you, why do you? Halfway through his words, the originally extinguished array below him suddenly lit up. Subsequently, everyone on the reincarnation plaza heard He Jinwen's voice paused for a moment. Immediately after, everyone on the reincarnation plaza heard He Jinwen's voice paused for a moment. Kiki, I wonder which part of Yi Liangchen's brain went haywire. Back then, I didn't know which part of Yi Liangchen's brain went haywire. To be able to draw such powerful talismans and refine such heaven-defying elixirs, he refused to sell them at a high price and sold them to Liang Chendajuan at a discount. She's an idiot, but I'm not. I'm just mixing in with that army of idiots, pretending to shout, Mighty God Yi, a few times, and I can casually buy mutated talismans, resell them, and earn more than 10 times the price. Ha ha ha. Such a good identity, how can I be willing to quit? The bustling square slowly quieted down. Everyone stared at He Jinwen, dumbfounded. He Jinwen's face revealed a panicked expression. He opened his mouth and wanted to say, I'm not. I didn't. However, the formation below quickly lit up. Then, he blurted out, when Yi Liangchen was being suppressed by the Flowing Moon sect, I happened to be busy and didn't go to the Tianguang ruins. I didn't expect that I would become a senior member of Yi Liangchen's army and get the highest level identity token. This was truly a blessing in disguise. Not only did I manage to buy a bottleneck-breaking pill to break through my bottleneck, but I also have a huge deal waiting for me. Chu Tianyu looked at him condescendingly and said coldly, Who is it? What business is it that has come to you? He Jinwen's complexion was deathly pale. He covered his mouth tightly, but a gurgling sound came from his throat. Chapter 2437. He wanted to retreat from Tianguang ruins. But the punishment chains were still tied to his body and he couldn't escape. He Jinwen's devouring he looked at Dong Yulong with fear and panic. There was a flash of fear in Dong Yulong's eyes. Yi Liangchen, Fuchen, what are you doing? Do you think you can extricate yourself by instigating He Jinwen to say a few lies? As Dong Yulong spoke, he raised his hand and swiftly withdrew the punishment chains. He Jinwen had a delighted expression and was about to retreat from Tianguang ruins. But just as he was about to shout, "Retreat," the array below lit up again. Soon after, everyone heard his words. The number 1 ranker of the 9th grade Spirit Pivot Board, Master Dong Yulong, actually looked for me personally and gave me a huge pile of peak-grade elixirs and artifacts. He even gave me millions of crystals and asked me to think of ways to ruin the reputation of Yi Liangchen and his army. Ha 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 ha. I would be a fool to not accept such a huge deal. Thus, I immediately gathered a group of men and used my doyen's identity to obtain a few low-class identity tokens of Yi Liangchen's army. They then did all sorts of arrogant things in Tianguang ruins and the real world to suppress other shops and ruin the reputation of Yi Liangchen's army. Dong Yulong, that old man, is generous but isn't very patient. Furthermore, he is even more ruthless than me. After I and my brothers beat up a few of them, he complained that we were too slow and that Yi Liangchen's army didn't have enough reputation. He asked us to do something ruthless. That is why there is that young lady from White Moon City, we all know that the young lady is a member of Yi Liangchen's army and she worships Yi Liangchen very much. But we want to frame her and ruin the reputation of Yi Liangchen's army. That young lady's taste is truly wonderful. Ha ha ha, when she was pressed down by me, she was still shouting for God Yi to save me. I was too excited and didn't control my hands properly and killed her. He Jinwen's face was pale and ashen. His expression was distorted and fearful. But his voice was like a machine gun and there wasn't even a stutter. The entire reincarnation plaza was in dead silence. But this time, it wasn't because of shock but because of deep anger. Ah, bastard. Bastard. You are not human, how can you treat my daughter like this? My poor daughter, boo-hoo. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to tear you to shreds. As the old man cried, he wanted to pounce over and tear He Jinwen to pieces. However, he was stopped by Chu Tianyu. Uncle, don't be anxious. Miss Chen is a member of Liangchen's army. We will definitely make those who hurt Liangchen's army pay back 1,000-fold. What's more, even if He Jinwen is worse than a beast, he's just a knife in someone else's hand. The real culprit behind the scenes should be punished. Nonsense. Dong Yulong's face was twisted as he screamed, Yi Liangchen, what do you mean by this? Do you think you can escape by letting He Jinwen bite this old man? Chu Tianyu sneered, Grandmaster Dong, what's the rush? He Jinwen has a belly full of words to say and hasn't finished yet? The so-called truth pill must be used together with the lie detection array to be effective. As long as He Jinwen is still in the lie detection array, he won't be able to say a single lie. As long as he opens his mouth, no matter what he originally wanted to say, he will spit out the words that he intentionally hid. Chapter 2438. Of course, appropriate questioning can make the truth hidden in his consciousness a little clearer. For example, Chu Tianyu looked at He Jinwen and said in a low voice, Dong Yulong said you deliberately bit him, he did not instruct you to do so. He Jinwen, do you have anything to say? Ha! Dong Yulong, this old man is very cautious. When he gave us the task, he was always very careful and did not leave any evidence. But I have been in Purple Cloud domain for so many years, I am not a vegetarian. I guessed that he might want to kill me after the matter is done, so I have already prepared a card. If this old thing dares to shed all pretense of cordiality, my brothers will immediately expose the matter. If we part without hard feelings, I can still use it as a threat in the future. Dong Yulong's face suddenly turned pale. The hand holding the broken fan could not help but tremble. He almost used all the strength in his body to shout out, what truth pill? Lie detection array? I, Dong Yulong, have refined pills for so many years, and I have never even heard of it. Bai Ziliang, Su Qingling, and you guys, have you heard of truth pill? No, right? You won't believe it, right? Bai Ziliang frowned tightly and did not speak. The other pill masters also avoided Dong Yulong's line of sight without saying a word. Only Su Qingling smiled with interest and said, I have been studying that lie detection array since just now. The heart is connected to the sea of consciousness, and the sea of consciousness is connected to the brain, heart and soul. Maybe, this lie detection array together with the pill can really make people speak the truth. Dong Yulong's face was ashen. Su Qingling, what do you mean? Are you suspecting that all this is instigated by me? Su Qingling casually brushed her long hair and smiled casually. Master Dong, why are you so flustered and exasperated? People who don't know will think that you are guilty. Didn't this elder of Liang Chen's army say that he has evidence to prove that you instigated it? Won't we know once he takes out the evidence? He Jinwen's whole body trembled, desperately shaking his head and biting his lips. The old man could not bear it any longer. He rushed over and ruthlessly kicked his head. As soon as he opened his mouth, he confessed, in my jade key, I secretly recorded the transaction between me and Dong Yulong with a photographic talisman. The talisman is in my jade key. No one can take it out except me. However, just as He Jinwen finished speaking, a talisman floated out from his jade key. It shakily falls into Mu Yan's hand. At the same time, little Tian's voice rang in her ears as if he was asking for credit. Idiot, is there anything in the Tianguang ruins that I, little Tian, can't get? Mu Yan smiled. She didn't say any more nonsense and directly activated the talisman. Soon, a rundown temple appeared in front of everyone. Only He Jinwen and Dong Yulong were secretly meeting inside. Their conversation was clearly transmitted to everyone's ears through the light screen activated by the talisman. The content was almost the same as what He Jinwen had said. At the end, Dong Yulong said, this is half of the reward. As long as you complete the task, there will be more benefits waiting for you. He Jinwen's eyes brightened. What benefits? Dong Yulong smiled faintly. Do you know that immortal fairy Qingwan refined an elixir on the ranking list? The soaring dragon pill will give you a chance to directly ascend to the Shuxian continent without having to advance to the crossing tribulation stage or cross the thunder tribulation. Chapter 2439. As long as you can completely ruin Yi Liang Chen's reputation and make him hand over the Medicine King's inheritance, then the rising dragon pill will be yours. In the image, He Jinwen's face was full of excitement, his eyes shining with greed and scheming. And the cultivators on the reincarnation square, whether they were part of Liang Chen's army or not, all felt chills all over their bodies. It was actually such a sinister scheme. One after another, it was vicious and cruel. Liang Chen's army had almost been dragged into hell, unable to rise again. If it wasn't for God Yi being strong enough to slaughter the 8th and 9th grade glazed and spirit pivot lists. If it wasn't for God Yi refining such a miraculous truth pill. Then who would be able to clear the injustice of Liang Chen's army? Who would care about the truth of the matter? At that time, Liang Chen's army would be condemned by everyone, and Yi Liang Chen would have no choice but to take the blame, withdraw from the pill competition, and hand over the Medicine King's inheritance. Thinking of such an ending, all of Liang Chen's army first felt their hearts palpitate. Then, it was an outburst of anger. Dong Yulong, I am a fucking dog. How did our Liang Chen's army offend you for you to think of such a vicious method to deal with us? You are fucking jealous of our God Yi, right? And you even called yourself a master? Pfft, more like dog shit. Hee, that Jun Qingwan is also not a good thing. Suppressing our God Yi time and time again, isn't it because she covets our Medicine King's inheritance? Leng Qingwan listened to the voices below, and the veins on her face bulged. Trash. Dong Yulong is an incompetent idiot. Such a great situation was actually forcefully turned around by that bitch Yi Liang Chen. Just at this time, Dong Yulong looked towards her with a panicked and pleading gaze. Leng Qingwan sneered, and without thinking, she directly left Tianguang ruins. Before leaving, her gaze swept across a few people in the square. Those people immediately understood and shouted loudly, "Dong Yulong is not a good thing. What does that have to do with our immortal fairy Qingwan?" That's right, immortal fairy Qingwan was also deceived. What right do you have to scold her? Yi Liangshan might have slaughtered the Xing colored glass, and spirit pivot lists, but don't forget that the person at the top of the coiling dragon lists, which is the hardest to refine, is still our immortal fairy Qingwan. Nowadays, any Tom, Dick, or Harry has the nerve to compare with our immortal fairy Qingwan. We won't do that. Leng Qingwan's supporters both openly and secretly flattered one and stepped on the other, making Liang Chen's army very unhappy. But right now, they couldn't care less about Leng Qingwan. They only wanted to kill Dong Yulong and He Jinwen, these two bastards. After today, Dong Yulong's name would disappear from the spiritual pivot list. As for Chu Tianyu, he used the truth pill and the lie-detecting array to thoroughly cleanse Liang Chen's army. From then on, this group that only existed in the Tianguang ruins became truly indestructible. Those who had ulterior motives and wanted to fish in troubled waters could no longer step in and reap any benefits. Under Chu Tianyu's organization, with Yi Liangchen as the core and Bei Kuei Xiang Nuan, Easy Bro, Sister Hua, and Old Ma as the cornerstone, Liang Chen's army gradually expanded and became as firm as a boulder. At some point in the future, they would also set off a monstrous storm in the entire cultivation continent. Of course, this was all in the future. And at this time, Ling Qingwan, who left Tianguang ruins in a fluster and exasperation, received an extremely good news. Chapter 2440. Marquis Chu's Ambition, 1. Are you sure that Jun Mayan is really dead? Ling Qingwan stared at the subordinate of the Bloodsword sect. The man bowed and said, "From Qingyun World to Azure Blue World and Xian World, there was no news of Jun Mayan along the way. Including that Xiaoyao sect, it has long been empty and desolate." This subordinate also went to the nearby Guei sect to inquire. They also said that they have not seen Jun Mayan. More than half a month ago, they also heard crying from the Xiaoyao sect. Ling Qingwan's eyes suddenly lit up. Good. This is really good. As long as a person is still alive, it is impossible to disappear without leaving a trace. Now that no one has seen Jun Mayan, coupled with the crying from the Xiaoyao sect, it proves that that bitch was really killed by Master. Previously, Ling Qingwan didn't confirm Jun Mayan's death, plus she thought highly of herself, thinking that she could crush everyone with her strength and become famous. But now, she was slapped in the face by Yi Liangshan again and again, and now her limelight was stolen. A mere bitch actually dared to step on her. And that group of idiots from Tianguang ruins dared to mock her. Wait until she seduces the monarch's heart. She will definitely let everyone in Tianguang ruins die without a burial ground. That's right. Why should she compete with a lowly cultivator from the Xiuzhen continent? Wasn't the most important thing to seize the monarch's heart? Ling Qingwan took a deep breath and slowly took off the veil that had been covering her face. It's time to let everyone know that she is Jun Mayan, the future mistress of the polar domain. Xian World, Dingbei Ho Mansion. Marquis, spare me. Spare me, awe. Bang. A bloody mist burst, countless pieces of flesh and broken bones splattered in all directions. Chu Xinyan, wearing a black robe and wrapped tightly, stepped on the flesh and broken bones on the ground. Hearing the creaking sound coming from under his feet, his irritable mood became a little better. Trash, can't even do such a small thing. Marquis, Elder Lu Yu said that there is someone who wants to see you. Chu Xinyan said coldly, let him in. Lu Yu was a short and wretched-looking middle-aged man. His back was naturally stooped, and his hair was sparse. His skin did not have any wrinkles, but it was greasy all year round. When such a person walked outside, he could make people avoid him and be disgusted. But how many people could have imagined that this person was actually a leaving Aperture Realm pinnacle expert? He had a perverted hobby of abusing beautiful women. Regardless of whether they were men or women, as long as they were in his hands, he would torture them until they were black and blue. However, he also had a shrewd mind. He did things in a sinister and ruthless manner, and his strength was extremely great. Therefore, he was also Chu Xinyan's most capable confidant. As soon as Lu Yu entered, he smelled a pungent stench. What's more, there was a disgusting sticky feeling under his feet. But his expression didn't change in the slightest. With a fawning expression, he knelt before Chu Xinyan, kneeling on the pile of broken flesh and bones. Marquis, I've found traces of the heir. When Chu Xinyan heard this, his eyes lit up and his breathing quickened. Really? Where is that unfilial son? If you found him, why didn't you bring him back? Lu Yu shook his head and said, the heir didn't appear in reality. He appeared in Tianguang ruins with the identity of Fuchen and followed Yi Liangchen. Bastard. Chu Xinyan's face suddenly distorted. He really knew Yi Liangchen's identity. Chapter 2441. Marquis Chu's ambition, too. He fiercely slammed his palm on the redwood table. With a bang, the table shattered into powder and fell into the pool of blood. That bunch of trash still haven't found out Yi Liangchen's identity? Lu Yu shook his head. Yi Liangchen is a special user of Tianguang ruins. Tianguang ruins protects her very tightly. Tianguang ruins doesn't even allow anyone to speak about her secrets. We have also investigated Longteng and didn't find anyone that matches Yi Liangchen. We really can't figure out anything. But we can be sure that Yi Liangchen and Longteng have a close relationship. His eyes swiveled as he chuckled. Marquis, you've made the right move in forcing Dragon Soar Academy to make a bet with us this time. Longteng doesn't have a powerful pill refiner. I guess that Yi Liangchen participated in the pill competition because of Longteng's request. If we win this competition, 6 Stars Pagoda and Chaotic Pagoda will be ours. I heard that cultivating in the Chaotic Pagoda will have unexpected effects. It might even be beneficial to you. Even if we lose, Yi Liangchen will still have to go to the Lan family Imperial Palace to participate in the second round of the finals, right? At that time, can she still hide her identity? Even the Crown Prince will be under your control again. Hearing Lu Yu's analysis, the anger in Chu Xinyan's eyes slowly faded and turned into excitement and desire. As long as he knew Yi Liangchen's identity, it meant that he had obtained both the mystical Sky Pearl and the Medicine King's inheritance. At that time, would he still have to worry about not being able to solve his current predicament? Chu Xinyan said faintly, I want to know Yi Liangchen's identity. I also want Chaotic Pagoda and 6 Stars Pagoda. Of course. Lu Yu smiled. 6 Stars Pagoda and Chaotic Pagoda are treasures that all cultivators yearn for. Longteng is just an academy that nurtures golden core cultivators. What right does it have to possess them? Marquis, don't worry. With that fairy, we will definitely win. When Chu Xinyan heard this, he coldly snorted, Immortal fairy? Are you sure she can beat Yi Liangchen? In Tianguang ruins, Yi Liangchen's fame is much greater than hers. The subordinate who had just been crushed by him was the one who had reported Dong Yulong and Leng Qingwan's defeat in the Tianguang ruins. Chu Xinyan had never imagined that a little girl, who had popped out of nowhere, would have such great ability to ruin his plans time and time again. As for that so-called immortal fairy of the immortal continent, she appeared to be so lofty and arrogant, but in reality, she was so vulnerable. Lu Yu smiled mysteriously and said in a low voice, Marquis, the reason why Yi Liangchen is famous is because the people in Tianguang ruins have never seen Xinji's true appearance and don't know her true identity. Chu Xinyan revealed a surprised expression. Lu Yu immediately took 2 steps forward and whispered a few words in his ear. Chu Xinyan's eyes suddenly widened. He said excitedly, Is what you said true? Absolutely. Lu Yu licked his lips, suppressed the desire in his heart, and said faintly, "I have seen the face under the veil with my own eyes." She really deserves the title of exceedingly beautiful. If he could play with such a stunningly beautiful woman and listen to her cries, it would be more than enough for him. However, Lu Yu had always been aware of the severity of things, so he immediately restrained his thoughts. Now, Xinji finally can't hold back and is preparing to reveal her true identity in Tianguang ruins. Chapter 2442. Marquis Chu's Ambition, 3. Haha, Marquis, don't worry, Immortal Fairy's reputation and strength are not any worse than Yi Liangchen's. In addition, she is very skilled in alchemy. The alchemy competition will definitely be ours. Chu Xinyan's eyes shone brightly. His blood was boiling. It was as if he could already see the future where he controlled everything. He opened his mouth and was about to speak, but his expression suddenly changed. He spat out a mouthful of blood. This mouthful of blood was not only blood, it was also mixed with many pieces of internal organs. Chu Xinyan's face was full of panic. He quickly took off his gloves and saw that his originally smooth and firm skin was rapidly withering, becoming like cracked tree bark. No, not only his hands, but his whole body, legs, feet, other than his face, all the skin on his body had turned into dried old tree bark. No. No, no, no. Chu Xinyan screamed hysterically. How can this be? Why is it starting so soon? Call Wang He over, quick. Quick. Soon, an old man with white hair and a beard stumbled in with a medicine box on his back. Marquis, your body is starting to collapse. If you want to maintain it, you can only use the lifespan of someone with a similar bloodline to you. Chu Xinyan stared at him with bloodshot eyes. Other than this, what other methods are there? Wang He revealed a difficult expression. Chu Xinyan smiled sinisterly. I don't raise trash. If you can't cure it, you know what will happen to you. This subordinate can cure it. I can cure it. Wang He screamed. There is another method. Marquis, you need to find 36 nascent soul experts and make them willingly allow you to devour their souls. But this method has a certain risk. If one of these 36 people resist, you will suffer a backlash. Moreover, the 36 level 9 nascent soul cultivators would die without a doubt. Chu Xinyan did not care. Go pick 36 nascent soul cultivators from my death squad. Seeing Wang He's horrified expression, Chu Xinyan sneered. These people were born to be loyal to me. It is their honor to die for me. Most importantly, these death warriors had been brainwashed since they were young. They would never resist being devoured. If the death warriors were gone, they could just train them again. His everlasting life and grand ambitions were the most important. Wang He said in a trembling voice, There's one more thing. Devouring 36 living souls will take at least 2 months to complete, but the time it can last is less than half a year. Chu Xinyan frowned. Half a year was enough. In any case, he would soon find Chu Tianyu, that vile spawn, as well as the mysterious Heaven Pearl and the Medicine King's inheritance. However, in 2 months of seclusion, he would not be able to personally control the alchemy competition. Lu Yu smiled and said, Marquis, don't worry. This subordinate will personally supervise the competition. I guarantee that when you come out of seclusion, the Chaotic Pagoda, 6 Stars Pagoda, Yi Liangchen, and the Prince will all be sent to you. If I fail to do my job, I'm willing to bring my head to you. A smile appeared on Chu Xinyan's face. Good. As long as you do this for this Marquis, you can play with all the beauties in the world. Even Immortal Fairy. Lu Yu excitedly swallowed his saliva. He bowed and said, Lu Yu obeys. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.